of any emergency shelters or any places where we're now gathering people in terms of telling people where to go?
At the time, I've not been currently notified of any particular shelters for anyone to meet at. I've not been notified of any Red Cross shelters at this point.
Yeah, this is all pretty new.
Correct. Yeah, it's very rapid and evolving.
How many crews do you have down there? Because we were seeing a lot of the emergency crews in the neighborhoods before you jumped on with us. I'm sure you're just spread out, amassed in the neighborhoods below.
Yes, we are currently sending additional deputy resources from six stations within the county. Some of those include the Santa Clarita Station, West Hollywood, Marina Del Rey stations. They are all responding to the area to assist with evacuations and road closures. I would imagine LA County Fire is requesting additional resources. They have the 4 helicopter units that are water dropping currently. There are only 4 fire stations in the Malibu area that I'm aware of. So that they would be requesting resources from other county fire stations.
So walk us through, what does the rest of this night look like for you?
Looks like a long evening ahead. Because of the terrain, the steep terrain, and the nighttime visibility, it's hard for ground crews to be able to effectively fight the fire. It makes it difficult for the crews to get any type of footing to be able to put in a fire line. And then also the evacuations, like I said, that will be taking place throughout the evening. So be a long evening for evacuations, as well as any additional resources that the Sheriff's Department may need to the area, possibly mobile command post and such to assist with operations and cellular service.
City of Malibu is also saying that PCH is closed from Carbon Canyon to Coral Canyon at this time. That's in addition to Canyon Road, Malibu Canyon Road, which you said earlier. Any other final thoughts that you want to impart on our viewers?
No, if they live in the Malibu area, if obviously best to gather your things now, have everything ready. If you are mandated to evacuate the area, have any medications, identification, cell phones, anything of emergent necessity that you may need to take with you if you need to evacuate in a hurry.
I mean, lastly, and I don't mean to be pessimistic here, but we want to level with people so people know what to expect. When we're looking at a fire of this size with 30, 40 mile an hour winds, and we see it less than half a mile away from homes and residences, business, and all the rest of that, is it fair to assume that we're going to start seeing property loss probably pretty soon?
There is a strong possibility. Hopefully the winds die down. That's currently what's driving the fire right now. So hopefully that the winds die down and that the water dropping helicopters, LA County Fire helicopters, can get a better hold on the fire. And hopefully we won't face any structure or personnel injury.
All right.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, we appreciate you jumping on. No doubt you're very busy. This is Deputy Tracy Comer with LASD. Thanks for all the good work you do. And thanks again for being with us tonight or this morning.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck on a long night.
Yeah.
ahead.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so we just learned from him, an LA County Sheriff's Department deputy, that they are patrolling neighborhoods in Malibu, literally going door to door using loudspeakers to alert residents in mandatory evacuation zones to say, hey, there is this Franklin fire, you need to get out. He says that the flames are about a half mile from some of the homes. That's a very scary thought. And road closures in place for Cannon and Malibu Canyon, and then also the city of Malibu is saying that, let me just pull this up, that PCH is closed as well between Coral Canyon and Carbon Canyon Road.
Yeah, it was interesting to me that he said that Canyon Road is something that they're looking to close. So if people are familiar with the area, Canyon Road goes from basically Agora Hills from the 101 freeway all the way to, the one end of Malibu. Then there's Malibu Canyon Road, which comes from Calabasas, which is what we're looking at here, which is right by Malibu Canyon Road. There's about 10 miles that separate the two. And so that this thing is so big and they're so concerned about it that they're talking about shutting down Canyon Road as well.
But just you can exit
Right.
if you need to exit, but they don't want the ingress.
People
They don't want more people coming in, which makes sense.
Yeah.
You want to limit the traffic.
Because some of these roads, there's kind of one way in and one way out, and that can be really scary. You think about what it was like, and I remember being out there in Cruz back in 2018 when there were fires burning at both Canyon Road and Malibu Canyon Road, and it was scary to drive through that, and that thing right there. If you're driving on Malibu Canyon Road, which right now would just be rescue crews, it is scary. So this is a sense when you look at a day image of this, you get a sense of some of what is there right by Cross Creek. I believe there's a tennis club that is right near there as well, and other facilities. This is such a beautiful part of Southern California. We just hope against hope that this property is able to be saved as we look at some of what is right there along Palm Canyon Lane. So if you are familiar with the area, you drive, Pepperdine is such a landmark there. You turn, and this is what we're looking at here.
So what we're dealing with at last check was at least 100 acres. Our coverage of this started about 11:15 during Goodnight LA. So we are about an hour and 20 minutes into it. That was, at that point, it was 10 acres. And here's a helicopter drop, let's hope, a water drop, or that could just, I'm hoping to see some water. It started at 10 acres, now it's up to at least 100. Mandatory evacuation orders are in place. You see the red zones and the yellow zones, evacuation warnings, evacuation orders, all because of the Franklin fire. Sarah Retreat Center under evacuation, east of Malibu Canyon Road under evacuation, south of Piuma Road under evacuation. And that is likely to grow as the acreage grows as well. And again, you can look on your screen, and we've put that on your screen. If you know somebody in the area who doesn't know that this is underway, please call them, do what you can to get in touch with them. That is what LASD, the Sheriff's Department, is doing as well, going literally door to door. We do not want to see a repeat of what we saw last month in Camarillo, certainly not a repeat of what we saw a few years ago for the Woolsey fire, when almost 100,000 acres burned and more than 1,600 structures were lost. So far, no word on any damage to any structures because of the Franklin fire. That's the best news that we can report, and let's hope that. And we know that, Alex, you asked a great question about, are we likely going to see some structure loss? And the deputy, being very positive, was saying, well, let's hope not. Let's hope the winds back off. But unfortunately, we know that that's not the case. We've been hearing from our chief meteorologist, Adam Kruger, all night that the winds are going to pick up overnight.
Right.
And we're not going to see relief until Tuesday afternoon. And I see Adam here joining us now. We appreciate the positive outlook, but unfortunately the winds are just going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to improve from what I can tell between now and, let's say, tomorrow morning and even maybe midday tomorrow. And it's still going to be gusty after that. But the strongest winds they were expected to kick in tonight and last through all the way into the night and tomorrow morning. So I want to show you the forecast wind gusts for Malibu and this kind of general area here. We've got that high wind warning in effect for this entire area off to the north and west of LA. We're going to start you off at 1 o'clock in the morning. And by the way, we've got a couple of weather instruments, one at Pepperdine, one very close to where this fire actually is, that have shown winds for the last few hours, just consistently gusting anywhere from 30 to around 45 miles per hour. I think that's the range we're going to end up seeing all night long. So let's put this in motion. There's 1 a.m. Let me see if I can get this going here into 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, it's really the same thing. And it's not like it's just Malibu where we see these strong winds. I mean, it's a pretty large area. We hope fires don't start somewhere else because we could see a situation like this. It's not just the winds, but also very dry air. That's got our big concern for us here. But really, again, it's the same corridor, same type of wind speeds, at least into tomorrow morning, and the winds are blowing in the same direction, pretty much out of the north or out of the northeast, blowing towards the coast. And it's those winds that go downhill over the mountains where we call them Santa Ana winds because they are very strong. They bring very dry air as well. We've seen, by the way, and I'm going to look this up here in a moment once I get past this forecast, but just unbelievably dry air right now around Malibu. Here we go to 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, it's kind of the same scenario. Let's take you into midday now, Tuesday. And what our model is showing something that might happen during the day tomorrow. And we kind of get this where sometimes during the day and the land kind of heats up from the sunshine and the warm temperatures that can right near the immediate coast kind of reverse the wind direction where you get this kind of brief little onshore wind flow. I think there's going to be a point somewhere just north of Malibu where the winds are kind of coming onshore, but then north of there still offshore. So we're talking about some small scale stuff that's a little tricky to nail down right now, but that might happen at some point midday tomorrow. We still get into tomorrow evening and then we kind of lose, if there is any push of onshore winds, we lose that, and it's back to an offshore wind still going tomorrow evening. And notice our model here still showing those gusts that could be over 30 miles per hour around Malibu at that time. But again, there's a couple of reliable weather instruments in that area, and let's see, the relative humidity right now at near where this fire is 10%, and then at Pepperdine, the relative humidity is at 7%. I mean, that is super dry. That'd be dry for the desert, let alone we're talking about Malibu here. So the dry air, the gusty winds, like we're seeing now, from what I can tell in the forecast, I think it's like this at least through the first half of the day tomorrow. It's still Santa Ana winds, though, into Tuesday evening. And Wednesday will be drastically better. So we're kind of hoping to get to that point as soon as we can, right? We can't speed up time. But we've got the concerning weather in terms of the wind and the dryness through much of the day tomorrow. That's kind of the bottom line here, guys.
Okay, let's hope that people are listening and taking these mandatory evacuations seriously, because the Franklin fire has grown in size times 10 since we jumped on the air. We jumped on the air with 10 acres. Adam, thank you, by the way. And now it's at least 100 acres. The yellow and red map that shows evacuation warnings and evacuation orders. So right now, a smaller portion is under mandatory evacuations. Nonetheless, there are mandatory evacuations that were issued within this last hour. And this is east of Malibu Canyon Road, south of Piuma Road, the Sarah Retreat Center, all under mandatory evacuation orders. This is one of those major incident alerts where it's an all hands on deck. LA County Sheriff, LA County Fire, LA City Fire, they're out there and they're doing what they can to fight the flames from the air and the ground. Live on the air, Alex and I have seen 3 water drops thus far. We obviously need to see more than that, but they're doing the best that they can, given the strong winds, given the time of night. And, resources are limited. And we're looking at, it looks like one of those ospreys almost.
Yeah. Let's see if we're able to see a water drop here, or they're just getting a sense from the air of what's going on here, if it's more of a surveillance thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's good to see.
Yeah,
we
it's
love
so good
that.
to see.
Let's see if it makes a dent. Let's hope it makes a little bit of a dent as we get some of that water on there. We think about that mountain fire, which happened the last time we had a particularly dangerous situation. That broke, I remember it was the day after the election. I was here for that too, sitting at my desk, and that was 9:30 in the morning. So people were up and it was sunny outside. And so it was a whole lot easier to get, a lot of people left for work. It was a whole lot easier to get people out at that time. This is breaking, at 11:15, 11:30, midnight. A lot of people are asleep and may not be aware that this is even happening, may still not be aware that this is happening. They're trying to use loudspeakers to get people up, trying to knock on doors. But this is, let's hope that those water drops work. But based off of everything that we know, it is very, very unlikely, given what's happened right now, that we're not going to start soon seeing property burning. Let's just level set with everybody so we can prepare for what's happening. That's what's most likely going to happen next. And it's probably going to happen pretty soon. If you think about it, this fire went from 1 acre to 100 acres in less than 45 minutes. And it's probably significantly more than that now as we await to get new estimates. This thing is moving fast, and it's moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's moving toward those homes as I'm checking the X accounts of all of the emergency crews that are out there on scene. You know, it takes some time to be able to update everybody, so nothing new. Obviously, City of Malibu is watching this. Pepperdine University is watching this. City of Malibu obviously saying that this is a rapid rate of spread, and that's exactly what Alex was just referring to. The Santa Monica cam, that's the smaller box. You can see the massive plume of smoke. Again, this is from the Santa Monica Pier. So this is looking northward, and it's just, you know, massive, despite how many miles away that is. And then obviously Skyfox is bringing you the live pictures of the flames from above. You can see Malibu Canyon Road at the top, Francisco Ranch Road, Cross Creek Road, Palm Canyon Lane. Those are all under mandatory evacuations, given just the close proximity to the flames. The deputy from the Sheriff's Department that was with us on the air said that it was about a half mile from the nearest homes, some of these flames. We hate to hear that. We hope that, you know, those homes have been alerted and have evacuated. Preservation of life first, preservation of structure second. It's very important to have a go bag, get everything you need, whether that's prescriptions or family heirlooms, whatever you want to preserve, to always have that in place. It's a reality. Where we live, we talk about the threat of earthquakes, we talk about the threat of wildfires, and you know, this all started with urgency much earlier in the night in terms of the winds. Those winds picked up much earlier this evening. And when we went on the air at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock and with the 11 o'clock hour, it was, you know, this is prime conditions for a wildfire. And sure enough, one has ignited in a canyon in Malibu. It is being called the Franklin Fire. And that's what we're looking at. That's what we're dealing with now Tuesday morning, about 12:45 in the morning. If you're watching us, if you're in the area, if you're nearby, I'm seeing some folks on Twitter talk about just the roar of the winds. You know, feel free to send us a tweet. I'm at Marla Tejas, at Alex Michelson, at Fox LA, just to give us a better sense. You can always call into our newsroom. We can put you on the air to get you, you know, your perspective of what you're dealing with if you're one of those under evacuation orders. We want to just be able to get as good of a sense as we can of what it's like down there, because from these aerials and these images from many miles away, it can be a little deceiving, like, it doesn't look too bad. But once you're on the ground and we have the ground look, it's just a completely different story with those winds just howling, speeds 30 to 40 miles per hour, and they will continue throughout the early morning into Tuesday.
Yes, they will. And so as you know, we continue to look from the air, the images continue to get more ominous as the fire crews are doing the best that they can, trying to contain this thing and to protect all the property that they can, and hope that things don't get worse. So we are on around 12:45 in the morning. Alex Michelson, Marla Tejas, Adam Kruger here for special coverage of a fire that is now burning in Malibu Canyon. This is right near Malibu Canyon Road. We're near Pepperdine, and we are near Cross Creek, which is a shopping center a lot of people know, near the Malibu Colony. And this is an area that is under real threat right now. Thankfully, nothing has burned in terms of structures that we've been able to tell, although it's of course hard to tell with how dark it is right now. But we're getting really close right now to a lot of different property and some very expensive property that we're looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, we just went through this with the Camarillo fire, the mountain fire, as it was called, in Camarillo the day after the election on November the 6th. Alex and I were on the air with that as well. And we know that that lasted many, many days and destroyed more than 240 structures. You know, we can go back in time to the Woolsey fire, obviously, that is hits much closer to home, given that that was also in Malibu, and that one ravaged almost 100,000 acres and more than 1,600 structures. So here we are with at least 100 acres burned. We're delighted to be able to report at this point that no structures have been actually damaged, as far as we have heard from all of the authorities and departments that we're in contact with. That's wonderful news. Let's just hope that people have heard about the mandatory evacuation orders. That's why LA County Sheriff's deputies are on the ground, going door to door, using bullhorns to get the word out that, hey, you need to evacuate given the flames. You see sort of the outbuilding on this live picture of Skyfox. It was on, this is obviously, looks like, is that an RV? It's hard to make it out, but it does look like some sort of a structure there.
Well, this is not a good inflection point for our coverage because this is the first moment that we are starting to see what looks like some sort of property burning. You see those trees burning and maybe some trailers. You know, that there are several different parts of Malibu that have some really nice RV parks as well. It looks like there's an RV there that isn't burning, but yeah. You feel for folks and hope that they were able to get out of there.
Yeah, that trailer
well.
literally surrounded by flames, and then there seemed to be sort of an outbuilding that also was there in view. So let's hope that life has been preserved first and foremost. Obviously, very thick smoke. You can't even see through all that. It's black at this point. I'm just getting a sense of, you know, Malibu Canyon Road, Palm Canyon Lane. We've talked about that, but you can just see it's just creating its own, the fires creating its own forecast conditions. And the winds are just, you know, 30 to 40 miles per hour at this point. They have 4 aircraft that are able to drop water. We've seen 4 drops. This is the daylight view of it that really puts things into perspective. Sad to see. But, you know, they're doing the best that they can.
Yeah. And now we're starting to get a closer look at this, and we worry about, you know, what could come next for folks. So, I mean, we don't want to worry everybody and make everybody panic or all the rest of that. But if you're in this mandatory evacuation zone, try to get out, get your stuff. It's time because, you know, what's happening next is probably not good. And you can replace the stuff, but you can't replace your life. And there's a lot of people that think that they're going to be smarter than the firefighters, and they're going to show everybody, and they're going to defend their property. And we see in every one of these really big fires that unfortunately people die doing that. And is it worth it? Is it worth it to do that? And I think that's something, when we look at the size and scope of this and the conditions, that's something that people should be thinking about right now in that neighborhood.
Absolutely. I'm just checking the account of Pepperdine University because we know that that is very close to the fire. They say, the university itself says, about 5 miles away. And they are putting out a statement 1 minute ago. I'm going to read it to you. It says, the university has not yet activated its shelter-in-place plans. However, we are prepared to if the conditions change. We are closely monitoring the fire and are in close contact with emergency officials.
Yeah, I mean, it's really close to Pepperdine, but, you know, it would require basically jumping over Malibu Canyon Road and then starting to burn up that other way. That's not the direction that the winds are taking it right now. So Pepperdine seems to be at this moment, right now at 12:51, to be a fairly safe place to be. It is some of these places on Cross Creek Road, some of these other folks, the areas that are much more concerning and seem to be the direction of where this fire is headed.
Santa Ana winds are driving this. This is a Franklin fire, and it's at least 100 acres. And sort of a clearer picture from the Santa Monica cam that we have propped there at the pier. And you can just see that plume of smoke not getting any smaller, just seems to be getting bigger and bigger as the flames do their thing. And they just devour all that dry vegetation. Extremely low humidity out there. Our chief meteorologist, Adam Kruger, has been talking about the humidity conditions and basically says it's like the desert out there right now, which you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear that combined, and that makes for those red flag conditions. And, you know, red flag conditions, in other words, synonymous with just high winds, right, Adam?
Yeah, if you guys have my mic up. So I was just looking at the weather stations. Again, we talked about this earlier, that there's a few of them in the vicinity of this fire. There's one specifically at Pepperdine putting out an hourly weather report. And so we just got one. I was waiting for this right around 12:30 a.m. And it's the driest air we've seen so far. I mean, the air's been getting drier and drier in the last several hours. So at 12:30 in the morning, we've got a 41-mile-per-hour gust at Pepperdine with a relative humidity of 6%, with a dew point temperature of -5, which, if you follow dew point temps, I mean, that is just bonkers. That would be crazy if it was happening in the desert. This is Malibu we're talking about. A -5 dew point with a temperature of 63 gives us a relative humidity of 6%. That is extremely dry air. And then you've got wind gusts over 40 miles per hour. I mean, it's just, it could not be a more perfect scenario for a fire to spread, unfortunately. I mean, I hate saying it, but that's just the nature of the weather conditions right now. And then we've got the fire that seems to have started, you know, just kind of north of the Malibu area. Winds are blowing generally from north to south. So this is blowing these flames towards homes. We see the view right here as Skyfox can kind of switch between what we see currently live to what it would look like kind of simulated during the day. And when you're watching these live images and you're wondering kind of like what orientation we have and what direction the winds are blowing, I mean, you see where there's the fire and then you see where there's the smoke. And obviously the wind is blowing, you know, towards the smoke. And so if you're watching this, you're thinking right in the shot right now, which direction are the flames going? They're basically going towards the smoke. And that's where, unfortunately, you see the roads plotted on this overlay we have on Skyfox. That's where, I mean, you know, we hope for the best, but I think we're going to see more and more structures impacted here. The wind is just blowing these flames towards roads, towards homes, it looks like. And then there's the embers, which we know from the mountain fire last month that can jump ahead and spread very far, actually. So, you know, it's heartbreaking to talk about it and to watch this play out. We knew this, getting back to just the weather side of all this, I mean, we knew we had a setup that was going to be extreme with not only the wind speeds, but also the very dry air. That's exactly what we see right now. And it's not just Malibu. I mean, that's the fire that we're tracking right now, but basically all of Southern California, and it's going to vary depending on exactly where you are, but we've got conditions like this over a large part of our region. And so we need to be vigilant with any flames because something like this could play out really anywhere because of the weather conditions. We hope we don't see anything more like this. But I'll tell you, as far as the wind forecast, you know, we've seen these gusts kind of holding around that 30, 40 range, specifically around Malibu. And I think in this area, the winds will kind of be the exact same thing, the same strength all night long through tomorrow morning. Maybe there could be some fluctuation and slight improvement in the middle of the day tomorrow or tomorrow afternoon. But it's still going to be a Santa Ana wind event through the end of the day Tuesday. I think just the most intense winds will be tonight and through the first half of the day tomorrow. And not just the winds, but the air will be just as dry as what we're seeing right now. And every time I get an hourly update from that Pepperdine University weather station, the air is drier and drier. And like I said, it's incredible. 6% humidity right now at Pepperdine. You don't see that often. That goes to show how extreme this the Santa Ana wind event is.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the city of Malibu on its website is talking about the public safety power shutoffs that are underway for a large portion of Malibu as a precaution. So power shutoffs in large areas of the Malibu per SoCal Edison, and they have an outage map and information up as well. So MalibuCity.org has some good information too, if you'd like to access that. Obviously, we do as well, foxla.com for more information. Also on X at foxla. We are putting out information if that helps you in any way, as Skyfox now up and over those flames burning Francisco Ranch Road, Malibu Canyon Road. In fact, when we first got reports of that, that was the intersection where we were told it started, Malibu Canyon Road and Francisco Ranch Road. 10 acres. Now we're at least 100. We haven't gotten updated numbers from LA County Fire in some time. I'm checking to see if that's happened, but as of now, it has not.
Yeah, and if you ever have to leave your home in one of these situations and you're away from your TV, you can always stream us on the Fox Local app for free. You can stream us as well at foxla.com/live. So we have this information. Even if you lose power, you don't have your TV or something like that in one of these situations, we are broadcasting live for free as a public service, this critical life-saving information to try to make sure that you're safe and you know where to go and you know what's happening in your neighborhood as we all deal with this emergency situation together. And as we talk about the weather, Adam Kruger, you think about what drives a fire, right? It's winds, it's humidity, and it's temperatures.
Yep.
And what you're talking about here, I mean, from a humidity perspective, what is that? That is very, very rare. What does that mean for firefighters?
I mean, part of what I was doing here a little earlier tonight was just trying to get like some data as far as the record lowest dew point that's ever been recorded in Malibu. I haven't been able to dig that up. The dew point temperature is specifically kind of tricky to find, but it is. I mean, if you hear my tone earlier, it's blowing my mind to see how dry the air is, and of course that's a huge component of what's going on here. But a dew point of -6 just in general is just so low. And then to see that close to the coast in Malibu, for example, is wild. And I kind of, I was using this analogy earlier, but the dew point temperature is the temperature at which, if you cool the air to that dew point, that's literally the point at which you get dew. So if you think about, you have a glass of ice water, you get condensation on the outside of that. That would be happening because the dew point is 32 degrees or above. So you're cooling the air around, the ice water kind of cools the air around it to like 32 degrees. When you have a dew point that's below 32, you don't even get condensation around a glass of ice water if it's below 32. But we're talking about -6 is the dew point right now in Malibu, or at least at Pepperdine University. So it's just extremely dry air. You talked about temperatures also. I mean, you don't need hot temperatures for a wildfire to spread rapidly. Just the really dry air is going to be a big component. And then we have these winds. They've been gusting 30, 40, 45 miles per hour in this area. This map right here is just showing the wind direction. So again, we have the fire that ignited north of Malibu, but blowing, unfortunately, for the most part, southward, which is where we see more structures, more homes, for example. And, we're just going to have to see how this plays out, but I think we're going to probably get some more bad news as far as structures being impacted and things of that nature. Bringing you in a little bit closer, this is kind of just a crude estimation as to where the flames are right now. Let me take the wind particles off here. But again, you can see, you've been watching it on Skyfox. Does a really good job of the overlay of the roads and structures. And again, those winds generally blowing from north to south. So that's kind of towards some of these neighborhoods and some of these homes here. And then you've got your issue where, yes, these scenarios can create kind of their own weather patterns and wind patterns. And then you've got the fact that we're dealing with some valleys and canyons here, and that naturally will create a bit of a swirl in the winds as well. But the overall direction of the winds will be from north to south. And just while I have you up here with weather graphics, let me switch over to another thing just to show you, in case you missed it earlier, in case you're recently kind of joining in, wondering what the forecast looks like, because we can tell you all day long about what it's currently doing, but let's talk about the forecast, because that's going to be the most crucial thing. So again, just to set the stage of what we have currently, it's a relative humidity anywhere from 6% to like 10% in Malibu, depending on which weather station you're looking at. And we've got wind gusts over 40 miles per hour. Here's our wind forecast now. So here's Malibu on the left side of your screen. This is this whole general area where the winds are expected to be very strong for at least another day. So we'll start you off 2 a.m. here. And again, the wind forecast, according to this model, still showing gusts over 40. It's even near 50, for example, around Camarillo. Malibu may be still near 40 miles per hour at about 5 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be the same pattern through a lot of the day Tuesday. So here we go into 8 o'clock in the morning. Now our model is trying to bring a bit of a brief like daytime onshore wind here. I'm not quite sold on that playing out. I think the prevailing wind is still going to be the Santa Ana wind, the offshore wind through the day on Tuesday. Here we go into noon. And again, like I said, our model's kind of doing that same thing, but still gusty winds are going to be happening here. Notice at the end of the day or about the time after the sun goes down Tuesday at 6 p.m., it's not like we're just done with this. Yes, the numbers are a little bit better, a little bit lower, but it's still through the day Tuesday going to be a significant Santa Ana wind event. Strongest winds, though, probably tonight through the first half of the day tomorrow. And the humidity, I think, is going to be a big issue, at least through the first half of the day tomorrow. We may see just a slight uptick right along the immediate coastline with the humidity tomorrow. But, guys, it's kind of grim news as far as the weather forecast goes. If anything, I'll say this, it's not going to be a long-term Santa Ana wind event. So we expect this through Tuesday. Wednesday, the weather conditions look to be turning more favorable. But, yeah, strong winds. Very, very dry air. I wouldn't be surprised if this was near record low dryness for this area. Hard to dig up those records right now, but it's on the extreme side, that's for sure.
All right, it is now past 1 o'clock in the morning. Alex Michelson, Marla Tejas, Adam Kruger here. Usually at this time on Fox 11, we air a rerun of our news at 10 p.m. That airs from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. And we know that there's loyal viewers that tune in for that. We want to let you know that this is not a rerun. We are on live at 1 o'clock in the morning. The reason we are on late with you or early, depending on your perspective, is because this fire is exploding right now in Malibu. And when we started our newscast at 10 p.m. tonight, this was not a thing. This started during the 11 p.m. hour of Good Night LA. You now see the logo. It's an extended version of Good Night LA, now happening at 1 o'clock in the morning as we watch this fire. And you look of this potentially jumping over Malibu Canyon as well. The road on the other side of Malibu Canyon is a concern. Pepperdine, the rest of it is on the other side of Malibu Canyon Road, and so that would be a development that would not be good if that's indeed where we could potentially head here. You look, though, at some of the folks that are trying to get out, potentially, and some of the rescue crews that are trying to get in on the streets nearby. We look at Civic Center Way. Civic Center Way is near the Civic Center for Malibu, which includes the where they do their city hall, and a lot of their government operations are launched right there. Sorry, it's a little late, and I got to get back to being able to speak a little better. But Civic Center is right at the heart of Malibu's government, which is up, and I imagine all their city leaders are up and dealing with this as well, as we see some of these cars starting to leave the area, hopefully to a safer place.
Yeah, Seaver Drive, we were seeing a lot of traffic there as well. That leads to Pepperdine University. LA Mayor Karen Bass, she just took to X to say that her office is monitoring the Franklin fire. She's asking everyone to follow instructions from public safety officials. She's also thanking first responders for the work that they're doing to fight the flames there. So that from LA Mayor Karen Bass, her office monitoring the Franklin fire.
And of course, this is not under her jurisdiction. It is the city of Malibu. But you think about the fact that there will likely be LA firefighters that are fighting this. Whenever you see a big fire like this, you have other areas send in reinforcements. The challenging thing, Marla, for a day like today, when you have such gusty winds in so many different areas, is you can't send everybody to help, because you got to keep some people near you in case one of these fires break out near you and you're protected. And so you see that was not a good image that we just looked at of what during the day that property there and these flames that are real close to it.
Yeah, apparently there's a research lab down below here, likely connected to Pepperdine University. So yeah, the daylight image, thanks to that technology, is really stark and alarming because you really get a sense of what is actually burning. Right now, it's just too hard to tell unless we see that daylight imagery. So you make the point that, you know, Malibu, this is under not Karen Bass's jurisdiction, of course, but LA County Fire, no doubt LAFD is all part of this as well to help in the firefight. LA County Fire putting out messages on X with the latest information. Malibu City also doing the same. Pepperdine University monitoring the situation. Obviously, this is a huge story that will, as we now zoom in, you see Seaver Drive and the traffic flowing there. Again, this is a main line to Pepperdine University. And Pepperdine University saying that they have not activated their shelter in place just yet. But again, they are monitoring the situation just as we are as well.
Yes. So there, for people that are familiar with this area, there's Cross Creek, which has a lot of shopping there. There is the Malibu Racket Club is nearby where all this is, which is a high-end fitness club and tennis and paddle, all the rest of that. There are several research facilities that are nearby here. There are some big homes. There are townhomes. There's condos. All of that near where this is. There is a church that burned back in 2007. That rebuilt itself out of the ashes. That is right near where all this is happening. And we are not far also from Pepperdine University as well, which does not look like it's the most threatened of everything I just said, but is still very close to this. And if you're a student in the middle of the night at Pepperdine, this is not something you want to be seeing right now. So all of that. And then also nearby is an area known as the Malibu Colony, which has some of the most expensive homes in Southern California, so the most valuable beachfront property that there is. We're seeing, right there as well.
Sorry to interrupt. We're just seeing the chopper there. We've seen that a few times before tonight, waiting for the water drop. It may have already happened when it was out of frame, but we've seen about 4 of the water drops. But again, 4 in about 2 hours is not a lot. They have 4 aircraft to fight this fire from above. They do have the hand crews down below. We've seen those crews up on the ridge, and that's when you really get a sense of those winds that are howling tonight. Once you get that ground view, you really do get a sense of how dangerous those winds are. This is a red flag area, and this is actually by the National Weather Service. It's called the PDS, which is a particularly dangerous situation. That's only been named that, a PDS, declared a PDS 3 times in the last almost 5 years, if you can believe it. The last time, coincidentally, was just last month in November for the mountain fire in Camarillo. The same red flag conditions were there and present. Prior to that, it was in 2020. So it is a rare situation for the National Weather Service to declare a particularly dangerous situation, and that's what we're seeing unfold in a canyon in Malibu.
And Adam Kruger has been telling us throughout the day that this PDS is particularly more dangerous than the last particularly dangerous situation. Right, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the terminology, that's basically the top of the scale, that PDS. But yes, this event expected to be potentially overall stronger winds for Southern California than we had with the last one in November. But it really just gives good context to say that, I mean, yes, we had one last month, but before that, 2020 was the last time there was a particularly dangerous situation, red flag warning. So, you know, like I said earlier, like you guys mentioned also, these are reserved for the most extreme scenarios. And it's not like this was issued after this fire broke out. I mean, this was issued before the fire. It's not in response to the fire. And so here we are with the situation playing out now. And, you know, the weather conditions were there, and then the hope was just that something wouldn't spark up. We knew if something did, it could really spread rapidly, and unfortunately, that's what we see playing out in Malibu right now. We mentioned earlier, and I'll keep saying it if people are just kind of joining in and catching up. But as far as the winds in this spot right around Malibu, they've been for 7 hours or so, averaging with gusts between 30 to 40, and at times slightly stronger than 40 miles per hour. And ever since about 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, the humidity has taken a nosedive here, which is another aspect of these offshore winds. What they do, the Santa Ana winds, they drop the humidity a lot as well. And so we've got relative humidity at a extremely low 6% for Malibu. And that's coming from the weather station at Pepperdine, which is right near where this is going on. I mean, 6% relative humidity is just bonkers for this area, and really anywhere that would be very, very dry. Even in an extreme dry scenario for, let's say, the Inland Empire, something like a 6% relative humidity would be wild. And here we see that playing out, less than a mile from the ocean, a 6% humidity. So very, very dry air. That, of course, is leading to extremely dry vegetation. Obviously, there hasn't been much rain in a while, and then you factor in these winds that are at times gusting over 40, and it's just a perfect recipe for something like this to spread quickly. And those winds are blowing generally from north to south. There are going to be some exceptions. There's going to be some swirling because of the terrain. There's also going to be the fact that the fires can kind of themselves create the winds to swirl a little bit and kind of act erratically. But generally, the winds are going from north to south, which means these flames are spreading towards some of these homes. And we've been watching that here on Skyfox. And sometimes we'll see it switch from the live view to what kind of a simulation of what it looks like during the day in these areas. And that gives you a good sense of how many homes could potentially be impacted by some of these flames here. And it's not just where the fire line is, but as we know from the mountain fire, the embers can travel very far. I believe with the mountain fire last month, was it like 2 miles or so? I think that they were telling us that the embers were traveling ahead of the fire. Not saying that that's exactly what's playing out here, but embers can travel very far when you have strong winds. And so that's another thing we have to watch for in this situation.
I'm just getting some new information from Pepperdine University. They just put this out on X. I'm going to read it to you. It says the university is now activating its shelter-in-place protocol. All community members on the Malibu campus are directed to shelter in place in the Tyler Campus Center, or Payson Library. Now, despite any evacuation orders from Malibu City or surrounding areas, the university community should follow university instructions. They go on to say, we do not evacuate the campus even when surrounding areas might. This shelter-in-place protocol is approved by LA County Fire and executed with their cooperation. So that is a big development, Alex, for Pepperdine University, that had said not long ago that it had not activated its shelter-in-place protocol, but in fact, it has now.
And so when they say shelter in place, they don't mean stay in your dorm room. They mean go to one of these two gathering places, the Tyler Campus Center or the Payson Library, and basically they can get everybody together and protect those areas, I'm sure in cooperation with LA County Fire. Evacuating that campus is very complicated. You think about Pepperdine built right into a hill there with Malibu Canyon on the side. There's very few ways to get out based on where this fire is right now. So they are making the strategic decision that they're better off having a basically safe zone on campus that they protect and try to get all the students there together. That's concerning for the students to be hearing. They are now, working, I'm sure, in getting people up and all the rest of that on that campus. But, it's a challenging night ahead for Pepperdine and for all the folks of Malibu. And let's hope that this is the only fire that we're dealing with in this night ahead. And there isn't another one that opens up, because these conditions are so bad that would not be all that surprising if we were dealing with a multi-front fire situation at this point.
So I'm looking at the clock. It's 1:16. It was about 2 hours ago that this broke out. We took this live for the first time during Good Night LA. So we've been 2 hours live with you to bring you the latest on the Franklin fire. Skyfox live up above, zooming in to see this looks like the Ridge area, Malibu Canyon Road. Yes, with the emergency crews stationed up there. There's hand crews, there's firefighting aircraft that are able to fly despite the red flag conditions and despite the time of day. But we've seen a few of those water drops. They haven't made a huge difference. I hate to say that, but it's a fact. And if only there could be more of them all at once, obviously. In the meantime, the fire has grown exponentially. When we went on the air 2 hours ago, it was 10 acres, and now it's well over 100. We haven't gotten that updated acreage count from LA County Fire in a while. So it was probably about an hour ago that we first reported that it was at least 100 acres. So you can imagine that that number has increased without question. No structures. Well, I should take that back. Let me say this. We haven't gotten word of any homes that have burned. We have seen some outbuildings just from our live pictures from Skyfox that looked to have been engulfed in flames. You look at the upper portion of your screen here on this live look at Potter Drive in Malibu Canyon. That looks like a home there.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to assess this with you live, and the trees on fire. It's really heartbreaking. What's really helpful is when our technology can just go to daylight to give you a simulation of what's really down below. This looks like this might be part of the Pepperdine University campus as well, where again, we're just hearing from the university that they are activating their shelter in place and asking students to go to a couple of different locations on the campus to hunker down together.
Yeah, from the looks of it, I mean, part of the reason that Pepperdine probably did that is the fact that the fire, which was only on one side of Malibu Canyon Road, has now jumped Malibu Canyon Road, and it is on both sides, including the side that Pepperdine is on. And that's what is, I'm sure, concerning and meant the change in protocol for the university. So, I mean, when we do go to daylight and you start looking at things, it's kind of hard to believe that there aren't structures that are burning right now as we speak. It's hard to tell exactly what is happening, given the fact that it is so dark and there's so much smoke and we don't have eyes on the ground. But based off of where everything is, it would be hard to believe that there isn't at least some structures that are now burning. And wow, as you pull out, you just get the size of this thing. And you think about, Marla, how in 2 hours a fire that started in 1 acre is now just a sort of monstrosity that is seen from, they told us that it was 100 acres. It's significantly more than that at this point. We just don't have an official update on it. And frankly, I don't think that figuring out the acreage is the most important thing for them right now. It is, we are in a life and death situation here, especially the fact that this fire broke out in the middle of the night when a lot of people were probably asleep. The big effort right now is to try to wake people up and get people out because this fire is not stopping anytime soon. And it is going in the wrong direction. And now it is going in multiple directions of Malibu Canyon. We look at Cross Creek Road there. This area, I love this area. I love this area. I grew up in Agora Hills. I grew up going to Cross Creek all the time and hanging out there. It is such a great place. It's filled with so many young families. There are incredible restaurants there. There's such a sense of community in Malibu, this laid back community of people that look out for each other, many of whom have been there for a long time. And to think of this community, which has dealt with fires before, now dealing with this again, and the damage that could come from it is just heartbreaking. And there you get a sense of all the stuff that's there, and you see all those flames, and you wonder what's happening on the ground.
Yeah, Palm Canyon, and obviously this area under mandatory evacuations. When we just saw the daylight video, there were certainly some houses down below. We are hearing that multiple structures are on fire. We just don't have a number yet. Uh, and we hate to have to report that, but that is the reality at this hour. And in terms of the firefight, they are not working to contain this thing just yet. They're working to put it out. They have to be able to just start getting those flames out before they can start to contain it. That's sort of the process, the protocol that firefighters take. So Sweetwater Mesa Road, Sarah Road, and Palm Canyon Lane. This is the area that Skyfox is focused on right now with those flames, all that dry vegetation out there. Low humidity, red flag conditions, a recipe for disaster. And that's what we're seeing unfold live here on the air. It is hard to get a sense of the damage down below, just given the time of day. 1:22 in the morning on your Tuesday morning, December the 10th. We thank you for joining us. If you are watching us from home right now, and if you do know anyone in this area, obviously, if you can alert them, that is in fact what LA County Sheriff's Department is doing. They have units from 6 stations from the county out there literally in the neighborhoods door knocking and using bullhorns and loudspeakers to alert residents that this is underway, because this didn't erupt unlike the mountain fire in Camarillo last month. That happened at 9:30 in the morning. This erupted about 11:15 at night when a lot of people had already gone to bed. So it's even more precarious given the time of day in which it started. You can see the steep terrain that firefighters are dealing with too. Look at that daylight video. Yep.
But that's a good sign. So you look at that and you don't see any structures right there. So that is the kind of, if you've got to have something burn, that's where you want the burning to be happening. But when we look at other parts of this, it's not so positive. And we do deal with that threat of embers too, because those winds are blowing at 40 plus miles an hour. The embers could go 2 miles more. And start other fires. And then you're dealing with just lots of different pockets of fires as well. So we're looking here at the intersection of Cross Creek Road and Palm Canyon Lane. And you're looking at, a real danger. See that now the day side gives you a sense like this is where we start talking about structures. That is the Sarah retreat. We talked about how that was one of the areas of most concern. That was the first thing that was evacuated tonight. That's right there, sort of in the middle of that picture. Right now, it doesn't look like it is on fire, but it is starting to be surrounded by fire in different directions. And so we're looking at some of these other areas as well. Hopefully people were able to get out of that Sarah retreat area. But there's a reason why that was the first thing that they were concerned about. Look at how close the flames are to it.
Yeah, exactly. And that daylight video really just puts everything in perspective with all of those homes down below. You were talking about Cross Creek Road. We just saw what it looks like during the day. The ridge here with the flames along the ridge, and then just in the canyon, just enveloped with all of that thick black smoke. And we haven't seen a water drop in some time, unfortunately. But then again, don't get me wrong, they could be happening. We've just not seen them. So let's hope that that's the case. But Alex, if you look at this shot here from a little further out, you can just see that plume of smoke. It is just massive. So we're waiting for, the latest in terms of acreage. I know that's not the most important thing. Obviously, the most important thing is preservation of life and making sure everyone is heeding the call to evacuate. But in terms of size, it was last reported more than an hour ago at 100 acres. And we're hearing that has tripled since, but we haven't gotten that confirmed. So as soon as we can get that confirmed, we will obviously update that. Pepperdine University, nearby within miles, just about 15 minutes ago, activated its shelter in place, asking students to not leave campus, but instead report to the Tyler Campus Center or the Payson Library so that they're all huddled together. There are road closures, by the way, in the area. Malibu Canyon Road is closed, Canyon Road is closed, and that is further away, but that is to prevent people from coming in. If you have to evacuate Canyon, they will absolutely let you do so. PCH is closed from Coral Canyon to Carbon Canyon. So there are a lot of road closures as well, which makes us even more precarious because there aren't a lot of entry points, pardon me, and exit points out of this particular area. But obviously officials, they know what they're doing, and that's what they've chosen to do in terms of road closures. Again, that's primarily to stop traffic from coming in. People want to get out, great. They don't want people to come in because that can make the firefight even that harder and evacuations that much harder.
Got some new numbers. Just confirm that we're now at 314 acres at least that has burned in this fire, which just started about 2 hours ago. We're especially focused on that Sarah retreat. Just looked up some more information about that. That's named after Junipero Serra, and it is a place that has a very prominent cross, which some people nearby have seen. It's a place that's open every day for prayer during the day. I'm sure not going to be open tomorrow, and reflection, but it's also a place where people have retreats and have events and have weddings and all the rest of that. It's a beautiful spot that has a really nice view overlooking the ocean. And it's a place where people go for reflection, and that is an area that's especially targeted right now. It looks like it is okay as of right now, but that's an area they're especially concerned about.
Okay, so now we're hearing, as just mentioned, that this has tripled in size. It is now more than 300 acres, about 314 acres. You see the helicopter above in the Skyfox shot. City of Malibu putting this out at 1:20 this morning. That large animal evacuation site has been set up at Palisades Recreation Center. So again, large animals would be impacted here as well, of course. You can take them to the Palisades Recreation Center, and then also at Pierce College in Woodland Hills.
Yeah, both of those spots are significantly far away from what you're talking about. I remember during the Woolsey fire, they did some of those large animal evacuations at Zuma Beach, the other direction, but they're concerned about that. So they're trying to take them to areas, when Adam talked about the forecast, the Palisades is an area that is not under as much of a wind danger. And let's bring back in our meteorologist, Adam Kruger, as we approach 1:30. And a reminder, everybody, that we are on live. I talked to a lot of folks that work in maybe security overnight or nurses or other jobs where they do watch our 1 a.m. rerun of the Fox 11 News at 10. That goes from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. Tonight, we are on live watching this happen in real time as we approach 1:30 in the morning. Alex Michelson, Marla Tejas, and our chief meteorologist, Adam Kruger. And Adam, we have this weird situation where the city of Los Angeles, certain parts of it are protected, but then pretty much everything else is some of the worst fire weather we've seen in years.
Yeah, I mean, there is a microclimate situation going on right now, kind of the nature of the terrain in the mountains protecting some spots from the strong winds and the dry air. And not that I want to get away from Skyfox for too long, but if we pop over to my weather graphics real quick, I'll give you a good example of that here. So this is the current relative humidity, basically a measure of how dry or not dry the air is. I know for Malibu it says 12%. I mentioned earlier Pepperdine has a 6% relative humidity right now. But what I'm pointing out here is the stretch from Malibu to the Santa Monica Pier. It's about 10 miles in a straight line. Santa Monica has a 71% humidity right now. It's 76% in Los Angeles. So this pocket right here is certainly not being affected by those Santa Ana winds. They're kind of going around the San Gabriel Mountains instead of going over them. So strong winds getting funneled to the west of those, which right through Santa Clarita, Camarillo to Malibu. Also, same can be said on the other side of the mountains where the 15 cuts through and over towards the 10 as well, and the Inland Empire kind of in general. It's just that as far as we know, we don't have any fires in that area, so we're not talking too much about those weather conditions. But this is a good example of how extremely different it can be over a relatively short distance. That's just the humidity right now. And then as far as the winds, and I'll switch to that real quick, it's the same situation. I mean, look at how light the forecast winds are around LA to some of the beaches near there like Santa Monica and south into southern parts of LA County. I mean, it's like a totally different situation there because of the mountains and the winds kind of being steered around the mountains. So we were protected, and that's kind of the nature of these Santa Ana wind events. They're mostly just an offshore wind in general, but you know, if the wind was coming more so straight north to south, LA would see more of a dry situation right now and would see some stronger winds. The fact that they're more like northeast to southwest, that's kind of protecting a good portion of Los Angeles. But unfortunately, we have those winds in Malibu. We've seen them gusting over 40. I'm going to run you through the model here because I want to show you that just in general, the forecast through the night. Now, this is 5 o'clock in the morning we're looking at right here. It's going to be the exact same type of weather. Gusts at times will be 35 to 40, maybe even a little over 40 miles an hour. I expect humidity through sunrise to remain below 10% in Malibu, which is extremely dry air, by the way. Now, as we go through the day tomorrow, there might be some fluctuation in wind speeds. I still think they're going to average the gusts anyways, around 30 to 35, maybe a little less than 30 at times. The humidity probably stays below 10% through noon and could go up a little bit. And we're talking some small differences here, but could go up a little bit after the noon hour tomorrow. And the winds might not be quite as extreme. But we're talking about, you know, the difference from about as extreme of a Santa Ana wind event as you can have to slightly less than that. It's still Santa Ana winds through the day tomorrow. It's just that we expect the worst of it really now through tomorrow morning. And I'm speaking specifically for Malibu here, now through tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, it's not as extreme, but it's still not going to be great. It's still going to be difficult for firefighters to battle this. As you see here by 7 p.m., for example, we still see the offshore wind. We still have gusts maybe around 30 miles per hour around Malibu. It's still going to be dry air, just maybe not quite as extreme as what we're seeing right now. And again, the latest, I just looked at it at Pepperdine. 6% relative humidity with a wind gust of 41 miles per hour. That was their most recent report at 12:30. We get updates hourly. I'm actually, if you guys just hang with me for a second, I'm going to see if there's a 1:30 update because we're getting those updates on the 30-minute past the hour time frame. I'm going to hit refresh here. I don't have the 1:30 yet. I'll be curious to see what that is, but I know it's going to show more wind and very dry air. Just wondering to see what exactly the number is. We also have another sensor just a tad north of Pepperdine by like a half mile. It's 10% humidity with a gust of 41, most recent report at 1:30 in the morning. So that's the type of weather we've seen for a few hours. I think it's going to be just like that all night long. Very unfortunate situation. Very unfortunate. The weather's not going to really improve much until we get to Wednesday.
That graphic you just showed was stunning. The idea,
The humidity.
That LA or Santa Monica is at 71%.
Yeah.
And Beverly Hills, which is 10 minutes away, is at 7?
Yeah. Yeah. Just the direction the winds are going. It's like, I mean, there's like just a division line. It's kind of like humid in one spot or kind of humid and then extremely dry on the other side of it. If the winds were coming from a slightly different direction, that division line would kind of like alter a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good illustration right there. It is, you know, it's extreme numbers with an extreme difference over a small area at the same time. Pretty wild.
Yeah, wow. That tells a story. All right, Adam Kruger, you see why, Marla, they are evacuating the animals to the Palisades and other areas where they are not having the wind problems, and Pierce College as well in Woodland Hills to avoid some of those weather conditions as we get another look from Skyfox of what's burning down below.
Yeah, and you can see the flames up close now. It looks like along a ridge. Hard to get a sense given how dark it is outside. We can tell you that this has burned more than 300 acres, 314 at last count. If you're just joining us, we've been on the air with this since 11:15. I was in the middle of Goodnight LA, which I do each weeknight, 11 to 11:30. and we got word of a 10-acre wildfire in these red flag conditions, and we've been on the air with it ever since. So from 10 acres to more than 300 acres in just over 2 hours speaks to the ferocious winds out there and those, low humidity conditions. And this is a video from earlier from RMG News. It gives a better look at one of those water droppings there along the ridge, the steep terrain. It does help, but we need to see more and more of that. We should just count our blessings that those aircraft are able to get up given the time of day and just the strong winds.
Wow, look at that. This is new video just in from RMG, and you see the conditions. Can we listen to it? Is there any audio on this?
Yeah, we're waiting for the audio to come up.
Yeah, so let's listen to those winds. The firefighters doing the best you can, but can you imagine having that? And when you listen to it, you can really get a sense of the real challenges that they have and why this thing has spread as quickly as it has, Marlo.
All right, we have a Pepperdine University student who is sheltering in place right now, joining us on the line now. Gabrielle Salgado, a journalism student, a senior at Pepperdine University. Thank you so much for calling in. As far as I understand, you have heeded the order from Pepperdine University and you are sheltering in place inside Payson Library there. Gabby, how are you doing right now?
Well, it definitely is a stressful situation. I mean, from where I am, I can see the smoke and the fire and the flames. So it really is an intense situation here. And there's students filling the library and you can feel the tension with all the students.
How did you get word of the Franklin fire?
Well, I was in my room when the power went out and I knew we had like the big red flag warning. And so as soon as the power went out, I knew it was a bad sign. And I checked like social media and I saw a whole bunch of students posting that there was a fire, and I immediately just messaged everyone I knew asking for more information if they knew anything. And eventually the university sent out word that there was a fire and they were monitoring it, but it wasn't something that we needed to be worried about yet.
And then what is it? Do they send out a text message to everybody, or how do they get that message out? Go to the library.
So they sent out an email, a text message, and a phone call. So we received all three simultaneously.
I think we can hear some, you're not alone there at the library as well. Give us a sense of what that's like in the library. How many students are we talking?
There's a lot of students here. Pretty much every single residential student is currently in the library. We have two shelter-in-place locations. One is the library and one is the cafeteria. And so all residential students are split between the two. And then all faculty that also live on campus are here with all their families. So it's very chaotic, and everyone here is wearing a mask because there is smoke getting into the library. So it's very stressful in here right now.
Are there people, because the Pepperdine statement said basically don't leave the campus. Are there people that want to leave the campus?
Yes, I actually have a friend of mine that did leave with her roommate to go to, because her roommate lives pretty close by. So they left to her house probably about 30 minutes ago.
It sounds like there's some dogs in there as well.
Yeah, we have all the pets of all the faculty are in here right now. So they're a source of like emotional comfort right now as well.
That's so nice. I'm glad that you have that. You mentioned everyone's in masks. Obviously, you can hear the roar of the winds. Are you able to see, and you're feeling the effects of the smoke, are you able to see the flames from where you are?
Yeah, so from where I'm sitting, I can currently see the flames it's yeah. So I saw when it was starting to get closer to campus, the flames got a lot bigger, and I'm right by the door as well. So we're filling with smoke right now.
Do you know the plan from university officials of what is the next step? I mean, I can imagine you described this as a stressful situation. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure it's also very scary. I can imagine that. Well, what are you hearing from university officials as to what would be the next step?
It definitely is a scary situation. We do have our president here, Jim Cash, who is like speaking with students every once in a while, giving us updates. And so I'm not really sure exactly what the next steps are. But I do know like Pepperdine really does emphasize that we are one of the safest places to be in the case of a fire because we have fire resistant buildings. So the shelter in place protocol is the safest thing to do in this scenario.
So that makes more sense. So the reason that those particular buildings were chosen is that they are considered fire resistant. And that's why they want everybody in there. And so that makes more sense. Do you see a bunch of firefighters around there protecting that particular building? I mean, do you see a focus from firefighters?
Yeah, so we do have our own. Pepperdine has their own fire emergency like services. So I have seen like our fire trucks drive by, and I literally just saw one of our firefighters walk into the building right now. Just dropping things off. I'm not really sure what they dropped off. I believe it was water. So I have seen like Pepperdine Fire Services being very active and proactive in this scenario.
I'm sure there's going to be some altering to classes, excuse me, tomorrow. Gabby, are you, and I'm thinking about the holiday break coming up. Are you in finals right now?
Yeah, so we just started finals week today or yesterday. So we are waiting to see like what exactly is going to happen. The university has not officially stated what they're going to do for the rest of finals week. So a lot of students in the library are conflicted. They don't know if they should be studying for their finals or if they should give up. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What a stressful night.
Finals are stressful enough. This is the last thing that everyone needs there. And no matter if you're a student or not, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
So, describe the feeling. I mean, are people like panicked, or are people like, we're going to be okay, this is fine, we're just going through this, or what's the vibe in the air?
It's definitely a mixture of both. There's some students that are very clearly panicked, and there's some others that are just having fun with it. They're just making light of the situation because sometimes all that you can do. And especially with it just being final season, and it's just, again, just always a very stressful time of the semester. There's just a lot of mixed emotions within the student body.
It sounds like you're handling it quite well.
Well, I mean, being a senior, I mean, this is my first shelter in place, but I mean, we have had a lot of red flag warnings. So I feel like I've had a lot of time to mentally prepare for this situation. And so I think, and especially like I'm busy, I'm working on like our student journalism side. So I feel like that is also helping me stay calm, knowing all the information, and then keeping myself busy.
Yeah, that sometimes our line of work gives you purpose in some of these situations, which sometimes is comforting. Maybe we can try to send you a Zoom link. I don't know if you'd be willing to do that and show us what it looks like from there. And I don't even know if that would work, but it would be great.
Yeah, I can do that. We are having some technical difficulties with Wi-Fi, but I believe I have a strong Wi-Fi signal right now, so I could.
Maybe we can try to get that to you and see if we're going to be able to get a visual of what it looks like in there, because it would be interesting for folks to see what it looks like there.
Okay.
So we're going to try to get that to you, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to you soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gabrielle Salgado, Pepperdine University senior, thank you. And hopefully we can see your face in just a bit and you can give us a sense, as Alex said, of the situation in the library. Hope to talk to you soon. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So we continue to look at this fire as it builds. You're looking now on your screen. Maybe we can take this full and you get a sense of where this thing is as we look at another water drop. Okay. So this is some video from a short time ago, as our chopper is in the process of refueling. So this is some video from a little bit earlier of what was happening, and then on the top left hand of your corner, that is a live picture from our Santa Monica camera, which is many miles away, but it gives you a sense of just how big this fire is, that you can see this that big from Santa Monica, and the dramatic difference in humidity right now. In Santa Monica, the humidity is 71%. In Malibu, it's 6%. So a testament to our microclimates at play right now. And Santa Monica is the microclimate you want to be in, where there's basically no fire danger. And Malibu is not the microclimate you want to be in, where we have extraordinary, very dangerous fire weather. And we had been warning about this for several days. And just, sort of the start of this episode, this fire takes off in Malibu. Adam Kruger, let's bring you back into the conversation and talk about the conditions that we're looking at right now in Malibu.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, we've got that weather station at Pepperdine, and just got a fresh update on that. So it's still holding at a 6% relative humidity, which is wild. And I know that number probably means more to people than dew point, but if you know what a dew point temperature represents, we've got a -6 or 6 below zero dew point right now at Pepperdine, which is just crazy low. Even for the desert, that is really low. So it just kind of goes along with the humidity. It's very dry air. We know that. And then the other update I got is I've just now seen the highest wind gust yet out of this event at Pepperdine at 1:30 in the morning. It measured a 50-mile-per-hour gust. Okay, so we've seen strong winds for several hours now, especially since sunset. They've been averaging 30, 40 miles per hour, kind of in that range. Now we have a gust of 50 in this area. So there has been a little increase in the winds just in the last hour or so, and it's still just extremely dry air. I mean, it's wild. And if we bring up our weather graphics just momentarily, this is what you were talking about, Alex, and we showed this earlier, but the extreme difference in the relative humidity over a pretty short distance. And it's because of the nature of the direction the Santa Ana winds are blowing right now. A lot of the LA basin's kind of protected from the Santa Ana winds going around the San Gabriel Mountains instead of going over them, kind of goes around them. So we're not seeing nearly the same situation around LA to Santa Monica, for example, just plotting a few of those locations where, yes, the humidity is over 70% right now. And the winds are also pretty light or calm in those locations. There you see this map is plotting 12% for Malibu, but again, I can confirm at Pepperdine, it's 6% humidity right now. Such a huge difference. If you draw a straight line from the Santa Monica Pier to Malibu, it's like 10 miles. Okay, so that's a pretty short distance to see a difference like this. That's wild right there. So that's the humidity. And then we can look at the forecast wind gusts as well, just kind of like while I have you here with the weather graphics. And like I've said, I mean, we've seen the gusts now just peak at 50 around Pepperdine and in Malibu. Our computer model is going to suggest that it's going to be around that range for a while. You see the timestamp on the banner right here showing 3 o'clock in the morning. And again, it's these winds that are kind of going around and the San Gabriel Mountains, kind of a lot of the LA area protected from those strong winds. So high wind warning continues through this area. Here we go into tomorrow morning. That's 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't think much is going to change with the winds or the humidity. Still both going to be extreme. Here we go a little later into the day on Tuesday. That's 7 o'clock in the morning. Again, kind of the same scenario. Here we go into noon. Now, I think there's going to be, at this point, right around midday, right around noon, let's say, a turning point to where finally the weather conditions don't just get better all of a sudden, but at least start turning towards improving a little bit. So not, if the humidity and the winds right now are a 10 out of 10 in Malibu, we're going to come down to like a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, something like that by tomorrow afternoon. Still dangerous, still Santa Ana winds, still high fire risk, just not to the extreme level that we have going on tonight, or I should say this morning now. It's, 1:50 in the morning.
Yeah.
Here we go into 7 o'clock in the evening on Tuesday, and it's still gusty, still dry air, but we will see improvement here. And then Wednesday is a day where this whole event kind of wraps up. I think there's still going to be minor Santa Ana wind issues on Wednesday, but I think overall the wind's much lighter Wednesday, the air starting to get a little more humid. So, and again, we talked about this. I think the worst of it now through about noon tomorrow. We had a phone call earlier with an official and kind of like hoping that the winds, improve overnight. We're not expecting that to happen. And like I said, just that last update from Pepperdine, the weather station there, it's the highest gust we've seen out of this whole thing. I'm now up to 50, and the humidity is super low. So it's a perfect recipe, perfect storm for a fire, if it were to start, like we see here, to just keep spreading and growing, and the weather conditions are not going to help much for the next 24 hours or so.
Yeah, and then you look at other areas too. I mean, Camarillo, the fire danger there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all about wherever something starts.
Horrible.
And so, and I'll show you if I can maybe zoom this out kind of manually here on the fly. See if I can get this going. It's going to take just a second here, but if we zoom it out, it's going to show that the areas east, like the Inland Empire, for example. Computer's not cooperating with me here, but it's not just the Malibu area. We've just kind of been focused on that because that's where the fire is. I think I can do this now. All right, here we go. So it's going to be those wind-prone areas, let's call it that, where the winds will be strong as well. So where the 15 cuts through the mountains, where the 10 cuts through the mountains, that's the winds kind of get funneled through there. It's almost like a wind tunnel. Inland Empire, parts of Orange County, Santa Ana Mountains there, for example, all those spots where you see those magenta colors are going to be of high concern for the strong winds and the very dry air. We hope we don't see fires start in any of those areas, but if something were to start, it could spread just as quickly as what we're seeing around Malibu right now.
All right, Adam, thank you. We have the Director of Communications of Pepperdine University, Michael Friel, on the line now to give us the latest. Mr. Friel, thanks so much for hopping on. We just spoke to one of your students, Gabrielle Salgado, who pointed out that the reason why the shelter in place has been ordered is because students have been ordered to go to these fire-resistant buildings on your campus. What is the latest there, sir?
Thank you. We are taking this fire very seriously. And at 1:07 in the morning, we did issue the shelter-in-place protocol. What that does is it moves all of our residents into the center of our campus, the most protected and fire-safe part of campus. These plans have been developed for some time and in coordination with LA County Fire to ensure that we put the safety of our residents in Malibu campus as a top priority. So the shelter in place is in effect. Our students are at Payson Library, also at the Tyler Campus Center, which is next to the Payson Library. So that is where our students currently are located. And obviously, our Emergency Operations Center is activated and closely monitoring the situation, as well as in contact with emergency officials.
There's some people that are going to hear that and say, why not leave the campus? Why stay on the campus? What's the answer?
Well, the plans are in place because that is the safest way to protect the lives of our students and our residents. And as you can imagine, individuals who are on the roads, this is not a safe time to be out and about. So especially with this campus and the way it has been constructed and designed to withstand these kinds of threats. The campus is the safest place to be at this time.
Were you able to alert all students? Are all students accounted for? I know that Gabrielle told us on the air that, they were alerted by text, call, you name it, email. So you did use all the appropriate avenues to get the word out. But do you feel confident that you've done that?
We are. And in fact, we're not only communicating digitally through email, text, as you have alluded to. We have been going door to door, knocking on doors to ensure that individuals hear us and are physically woken up if needed to take them to the shelter-in-place locations.
Is anybody resisting?
We have no reports of any resistance. No, our residents have been very cooperative and are working closely to go to the right locations at Tyler Campus Center and the Payson Library, and we currently have a number of students there, as you have seen for yourself. So we are continuing to monitor the situation and are making sure that our residents are safe. That's the most important priority for us at this time.
We're just getting word that the fire has grown exponentially and is now at more than 850 acres. Last count, not long ago, it was at 314. Now it's reportedly at more than 850 acres. When was the last time that this shelter-in-place protocol was put into place? Was it the Woolsey fire?
Yeah, the Woolsey fire certainly challenged and threatened our campus, and so we have had plans in place based on that experience and really the best practices based on that experience. So we have really solid plans in place. We have a shelter-in-place protocol established, and we have activated all of our emergency operations team members and all hands on deck at this point to ensure that we ensure the safety of our residents.
So are you saying that this was put into place because of the Woolsey fire and what happened there? That this is, so is this the first time you've done this then, this shelter in place?
What I can tell you is that we learned from the Woolsey fire and we activated plans at that time to protect our residents. And so that was just a significant example. Everyone is familiar with the Woolsey fire and what has happened as a result of that fire with the university. And so at this time, we have plans in place that, are based on that experience, as well as the best practices that we've gleaned over the years since. And, we obviously are in a location where we have to be prepared for these situations, and we absolutely are.
Is there a next step if things get worse, or is this the end game?
No, absolutely. This is the best plan in place. The campus has been constructed and designed to withstand any kind of threat from a brush fire of this nature. And we have buildings established to protect this. We also have the surrounding area, the shrubbery, everything that has been cleared as a result of the conditions leading up to this point. We have been well prepared to respond to situations like this, and the shelter in place is a very important part of our emergency plans to ensure the safety of our students and to keep them out of harm's way and any residents. We don't want them on the roads where there are other threats at that with that in mind. So we keep our residents on campus in shelter in place there and in close coordination with Los Angeles County Fire.
Before we let you go, it's finals week. It started, I believe Gabrielle said yesterday. What do you want students to know?
Right now, we're focused primarily on their safety. And so we want our students to be connected, to continue to monitor communications and continue to watch out for one another and listen to directions from faculty and staff to ensure their safety. Their safety is number one, and academics we will certainly work through. But at this time, the number one thing is we're making sure that all students are sheltered in place and their safety is paramount as of this evening.
And real quickly, to wrap things up, your biggest, Gabby mentioned that those buildings are fire resistant. Is that true? Can you talk about the protection put into those buildings?
Yeah, that is correct. They're built that way. And so the buildings are constructed to to be resistant to fire. Also, the vegetation in the area, and also the clearing of brush in and around the campus. So the campus has been fortified to withstand these kinds of conditions. And so the campus is really a very safe place to be as we ensure that our students are in the center of campus at our Payson Library and also at the center of campus.
Michael Friel from Pepperdine University, thank you so much for calling in to us on such a chaotic but also important night. We really appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks so much.
Best of luck to you and all your students.
All right, we have Gabrielle Salgado now joining us again. She was with us not long ago via phone, and now she joins us via Zoom to give us a better idea of what it looks like within the library, this fire-resistant building where students have evacuated. Gabrielle, it's good to see you. As you pointed out to me and Alex, everyone's in masks because of the heavy smoke. Give us a tour, if you can, of what it's like in the library.
Yeah, so as you can see behind me, we have the flames. I'm right by the entrance of the library. So this is the window that you see when you walk in on the second floor. These flames are getting really, really close, as you can see, right around here. And then right in front of me, there's also quite a few students. So if you look over here, there's a lot of students that are standing around the window, watching the fire, getting video, because it is very stressful and they want to see what's happening.
Did they give you the masks?
Yes, so some members of Residence Life came around and handed out masks just because it was so smoky right here at the entrance. My eyes are burning because of the smoke. And a lot of us are coughing because the smoke is really creeping in.
So just so I'm clear, you're inside right now.
Yes, I'm inside.
Okay, and so the backdrop that we're seeing, that's just the glass window outside.
Yeah, so this is the window where you can see the parking lot and then the mountain ranges.
Yeah, I mean, this just is, Alex and I are just taking this in with you because we're seeing really just the glow behind you is very ominous with the orange and the flames behind you.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there's always a shift, where for a while we don't see a lot of flames or a lot of this crimson red. And then every once in a while it gets really, really bright. So right when we think it's starting to calm down, it gets even brighter.
Can you give us a sense? We just got a look at it, but of just what students are doing, how are people passing the time? What's happening there now?
Yeah, so students are kind of centering around the window, watching the fire as it spreads, getting video, posting on social media, and just talking. And they're really just standing around watching. So pretty much everyone has stopped studying for finals because this has become a priority.
Yeah, I mean, we just heard from your director of communications. We asked him about finals week, and he said, that's second. First and foremost is student safety, of course. So yes, let's not worry about finals and let's focus on your safety. Do you feel safe right now, Gabrielle?
I personally feel safe, but when I see the flames get closer, of course, I get scared and I get nervous, as any human would. So I do feel safe, but there is a sense of danger if the fire progresses in a way that we wouldn't want it to.
Are you a Southern Californian? Have you ever been through a fire before?
No, I'm actually from Central California. It's about 3 hours north of Malibu, right in the Central Valley. So we don't experience a lot of wildfires, but we see a lot of effects of wildfires in the Sierra Nevadas, and there's fires there. We see a lot of the smoke and ash. I've never been this close to a wildfire, but I guess living in Southern California for 4 years has got me a little bit more adjusted to it.
What do you think when you see it?
It's scary. I mean, it's being this close to a wildfire, and especially with the high winds that we're experiencing, it can change at any minute. And I mean, I called my mom at 1 o'clock in the morning, knowing I was probably freaking her out, but that's what I needed to do. And I tried to not call her because I didn't want her to be scared. But as soon as we got that shelter-in-place order, I knew I needed to call her.
That was going to be my next question. Have you talked to your parents? And I'm glad that you did call your mom, and no doubt she's worried, but that's the best thing you could have done. I'm sure that the fellow students have been in touch with their parents. You're a journalism student. I'm not sure if I've met you before. Alex and I go to the university and speak to journalism students. Is your plan to become a reporter?
Yeah, I definitely plan to become a broadcast reporter. I'm starting to look into different places that I want to go. I really don't I don't really know exactly where yet, but I definitely want to go into broadcast reporting.
Certainly not making light of the situation, but you just gave your first live report, and you did a really great job, Gabrielle.
Before you go,
you.
can you turn around the camera one more time and just give us a sense of what it looks like, the rest of the library right now? Maybe we can take that full and get a sense of that. So we're looking at, some different students all hanging out. Almost everybody looks like they're in their masks, and trying to pass the time in the library together. Nobody's getting sleep tonight. And this is not the finals situation that anybody was anticipating.
Any final thoughts, Gabrielle, before we let you go?
I mean, I think this is an important reminder that when we have these red flag warnings, to take them seriously. Because, I mean, you never know. Sometimes the red flag warnings are issued and nothing comes of them, but sometimes something does come of them. And this is an important reminder to take the red flag warnings seriously.
Yes, and we're glad you did. We're glad that you and your fellow students and faculty, staff, everyone's safe there. So, you have our contact information. If anything changes, feel free to contact us. We thank you so much for hopping on the air with us.
And you're a great reporter.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe, Gabrielle. Thank you again.
And you got a great teacher too, and Teresa Los Santos, who's fantastic. And we appreciate all the great journalism students at Pepperdine. We continue our live coverage here as we continue to look at some of the areas of concern. We know that there are folks all over the place that are going to be helping with this. We're hearing that some strike teams from LA Fire Department are being deployed to the incident, which is not surprising. We expect that there will be different agencies from all over that are going to be coming into this to try to back up some of the local, including the LA County Fire crews that are there, and try to get this as much under control as you can. But this started as 1 acre back around in the 11 o'clock hour, and then now in the 2 o'clock hour, and it's at 853 acres, which is probably closer to 1,000 acres. That's a pretty rapid spread. And as you would expect in a situation like this, we are at 0% containment. They're not even close to starting that process of containing this thing, trying to save as many properties as they can. But most importantly, frankly, in the middle of the night with a fire like this size, number one job is to try to get people out and make sure that lives are saved before some of these buildings likely start to burn because of what is happening right now with this fire.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up the acreage, and we can report that. But what we can't do at this point is report structures damaged because of the time of day. In that, when we see the daylight video, the simulation of these neighborhoods, you can see a lot of structures there. And so when we're seeing the flames, you can hope that it's just burning vegetation. But in many instances, Alex and I have seen the images turn to daylight, and there are certainly structures there. So no doubt that multiple structures have burned. We just don't know how many yet. No reports of injuries. Again, we're in contact with LAFD, LA County Fire Department, the city of Malibu as well, Pepperdine University. So, we're doing our best to keep up with the spread of this fire. And again, here's an example. You see the ridges, you see all of the beautiful neighborhoods down below. Fortunately, this is an area where there are no flames.
That's Pepperdine, right?
I believe that is Pepperdine.
Yeah. That's the dorms, and that's, yeah.
The campus walk,
Yeah.
Seaver Road, yes, the main route into. So Pepperdine, as we just saw and heard from Gabrielle, one of the students there, they are okay. They're sheltering in place in those fire resistant buildings. So they have their plan. In the meantime, plenty of neighborhoods are under mandatory evacuations. Those are east of Malibu Canyon Road, south of Piuma Road. Also, and this is more vegetation, but then you see Potter Drive, and I think this may have been a research lab that we
Yep.
talked about earlier
Oh man. look
as
at
well.
that.
Yeah, that's definitely impacted.
Oh.
And then also the Sarah Retreat Center, that was the first call for mandatory evacuation orders. That was in the 11 o'clock hour.
So if you drive Malibu Canyon Road and you're heading towards the beach and you see that spectacular Pacific Ocean after you drive through and you see Pepperdine on the right, you see this, you drive past this research facility and it's something that's very noticeable anytime you're heading towards the beach. And you hope that they're okay, but you look at where those flames are and it is not promising. This particular shot right here, and you feel for all the folks associated with that. You would think that there's probably nobody there physically at this time of night, which is good if you think about that. But you think about all the important work that they do there, and not good.
Yeah, so we're hearing, we talk a lot of, we're throwing a lot of numbers at you, but more than 300 firefighters. They're there battling this thing. Six helicopters have been deployed. Earlier it was 3, then it went to 4. So now we have 6 helicopters deployed. So they are increasing resources, which we're happy to be able to report. So that is in terms of the firefight. Alex makes the great point. This is an all hands on deck major incident. We see that when these flames erupt, these fires erupt like this, especially under these red flag conditions. You can't really get a sense of the winds from the aerial shot, but they are howling on the ground 30 to 40 miles per hour plus, and they will continue to be that way until Adam was forecasting until about noon today on Tuesday.
So that research facility, or one of them in that area, is called HRL Laboratories, which is a quantum science and engineering facility that's world class. They do semiconductor growth tools, 10,000 square foot nano fabrication clean room, computational resources, cryogenic testing and measurement laboratories. So some very expensive state-of-the-art material that is not easily replaced, and that could be some of what's being hit right now. Hard to tell exactly, but it can't be particularly good when we look at some of these images.
Now we're getting word that PCH has been impacted, and State Route 1 between Topanga Canyon and Coral Canyon reportedly closed. PCH portions of it were closed earlier, but now State Route 1 between Topanga Canyon Road, Topanga Canyon and Coral Canyon are closed because of the Franklin fire. So we're seeing the impact of the spread reach wider and wider, further out. And, we knew that would be the case. We were hoping that was not going to be the case, but all signs point to that it would be. Given the rate of spread, it is extremely fast. Potter Drive, this has been a focus of this Skyfox for a while now, but just the flames keep going. And also from the ground video, you don't get the sense from the aerial shot, Alex, is just the embers, and they are just taking off, and it just takes a little bit, and they take off, and then they can ignite a whole new fire, a mile down the road. We haven't actually seen that from our perspectives just yet, but let's hope that doesn't transpire.
Indeed, and can be multiple miles as well on some of those embers. And you just get a sense of the real huge size of this thing as it continues to build. And also, maybe we can show again some of that video that we have from the ground, where you really got a sense of what the winds are like and what those firefighters are battling against, and how challenging it is for them as they're dealing with 40, 50 mile an hour winds. And here's some of that. What can we maybe listen in again, get a sense of what it sounds like?
Just the roar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine how hot that is too, and how hot that must be for our colleague from RMG who's shooting this, and how hot it's got to be for the firefighters to have this right in their face as well. And then the winds themselves, when you experience a 40 or 50 mile an hour wind gust, I mean, that's enough to like knock you over. That's a disorienting feeling, and to be that close to the flames and have that heavy duty of equipment. I mean, the firefighters do such great work on a daily basis, but the challenge is great right now, and they do the best they can with there's only so much you can do with a hose when you're looking at conditions like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So now I just happened to look at the clock. I went on the air with this during Goodnight LA at 11:15. It's now 2:17. So that means we're going on our third hour. 3 hours into the Franklin fire. Started out as 10 acres during Goodnight LA. It is now more than 850 acres. In 3 hours' time, we have 300 firefighters out there. We have 6 helicopters able to drop water. We've seen that live on the air a few times. They have increased resources. This is an all hands on deck. LASD, the Sheriff's Department, is also out there doing their best to alert residents. Pepperdine University has issued a shelter in place. This is just a few miles from the flames. And that shelter in place has students sheltering in fire resistant buildings. That is a plan that they have come up with out of the Woolsey fire, essentially. And they do this in cooperation with LA County Fire. So it's a well thought out plan for the students at Pepperdine University.
Speaking of, let's bring in another student, Vladimir Balmaceda. Balmaceda Trinidad is joining us on the phone. Did I get that name right?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for joining us tonight. You're a Pepperdine student. Describe what you're seeing.
Yes, sir. Could you repeat that again? I apologize.
To talk about what you're seeing, what you're experiencing right now.
Yes. So currently, I just evacuated because the fire got so out of proportion. Everybody was told to evacuate. Me and my suite mates packed our bags. We took all our valuables because at first the fire was very contained, but as the gust of winds continued to pick up, it rapidly started to go over the canyon. And at this point, we knew that it would either stay here and risk being potentially in that or evacuate and take our chances. It was just really bad. Along with that, the smoke was really interfering with our breathing. So overall, it's just becoming a frenzy at this point.
So basically, what you're saying is you did not follow the university protocol to go to the library. You said, I don't want to be on campus. I want to get out of here. Is that true?
Yes. So first we went to go follow protocol, but then we saw that it got so bad that we decided to follow the city's issue to evacuate.
So where are you right now? Without giving too much information. So you went to a friend's house or family member's house in the area.
Yes.
Okay.
And you feel more secure there than you did on campus?
Yes, because, being away from the winds and the fire makes us feel more secure. So I think being away from the campus is the best option for us.
Did you see other students doing something similar that are like, basically, F this, I'm out of here? I mean, it was basically what was happening?
Yeah, so I saw various students. I mean, the parking lot is very empty, but it's also through the city's mandate. Pepperdine is doing a great job of taking care of everything on campus because we started out there as well, but the fire is very uncontained at the moment.
When you did evacuate on surface streets, what was that like? Give us a sense of the traffic, the flow, etc.
So at the moment, it was just completely packed. You know, there was cars going left and right, very fast. But I do give props to Pepperdine for keeping it very contained. And I appreciate the LA Fire Department and all the fire departments helping out. They're doing a great job. But traffic was very hard to get out. But overall, it wasn't too crazy unless you're going through Santa Monica or around the canyon.
Was it scary to drive in that scenario?
Very, very, because you can hear the gusts of the wind as you're in the car. So you can only imagine how bad the fire is.
So is your plan now to stay in place where you are now?
Yes, I want to keep myself away so I can remain safe and away until we get any future updates on what happens. We are going to be away because we still don't have any update if finals are canceled or not. So a lot of the students are still here wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be finals tomorrow.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Priority number one is student safety. So where you are right now, do you feel safe?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you ever been?
As long as I'm away from the fire.
Have you ever been through something like this? Are you a Southern California resident originally?
I am not. I am actually from Texas.
So what do you think of this whole thing?
It is absolutely absurd and it is very frightening to say at least, but I do have faith in the fire department and they are doing a very great job.
Well, we're rooting for you and wish you the best in all of this. And we thank you for taking a moment to call in and to also bring us the reality, which is frankly not all that surprising, that some students taking matters into their own hands and feeling more safe leaving campus versus staying as well. And so interesting to see in the end how many students chose to do what you're talking about as well. Vladimir, thank you so much. Keep in contact with us and hope everything goes okay tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of the night.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the two pictures here. The one on the left, yeah, thank you, Director Daniel, because it kind of all looked the same for a second there. The one on the left, upper left screen, the smaller one, that is from our Santa Monica camera. So that's typically that's at the pier. We show you that shot all the time. So it's facing now north, and you can see the glow of the flames. And then, of course, the bigger picture is Skyfox, and this is hovering over Pepperdine University, Seaver Drive. Obviously, that goes, for those familiar, goes into Pepperdine University. You see the traffic flow there. That's sort of what Vladimir was talking about, that it's obviously going to be very chaotic. That shot doesn't look too chaotic, but it's a different sense when you're on the ground, what those roads look like, given all of the people. We don't have a count yet, but the number of people who are told to evacuate mandatorily.
Well, you just think about it also. You're driving and you look out the window and you see that.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's scary.
Yeah, and as we saw from Gabrielle, the Pepperdine student who did shelter in place at the library, with the backdrop of just the glow of the fire, that's very scary. So Vladimir said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get off campus. But university officials are saying, please shelter in place here. This is the safest place for you. We don't want you out on the roads. You can understand that as well. And again, where those students are sheltering in place, those are fire resistant buildings, 2 buildings on campus built for this.
And you kind of understand everybody's perspective in this and why they're making their choices that they are. So that is the daytime view of what Pepperdine University looks like. We're obviously focusing a lot on Pepperdine University right now as we're talking to students there. etc. But Pepperdine is not the only part of Malibu that is impacted by this. And frankly, some of the areas surrounding Pepperdine are probably getting it a lot worse right now. That's likely where structures are burning right now and have already burned. Pepperdine so far does not see any sort of structure lost or anything like that, and the flames are not right up against Pepperdine, although not all that far away as we pan there. But any of the we look at this when we turn to the day side, and those properties there, you know, are in real danger, if not already dealing with some burning. I mean, it's clear that the ridge here is on fire. Right immediately below, we don't know, but there's not a whole lot to stop this thing right now.
Yeah, and that's the worst, the news that we are reporting as we check city of Malibu, brush fire, road closures in Malibu. So more closures for PCH. PCH is closed from Las Flores to Coral Canyon. Las Virgenes is closed from Mulholland to PCH. So the road closures are just stacking up. Earlier, there was about 3 road closures that we were able to report: Canyon Road, Malibu Canyon, and PCH between Coral Canyon and Carbon Canyon. Now PCH is closed from Las Flores to Coral Canyon. Las Virgenes is closed from Mulholland to PCH. This is from the city of Malibu. There's also evacuation centers, Alex, for large animals. Those are ones at Pierce College in Woodland Hills. The other is in the Pacific Palisades.
And so when you start doing these road closures, you're talking about Canyon Road, you're talking about Malibu Canyon, you're talking about all these areas, then you really start impacting some of the nearby communities like the city of Calabasas, the city of Agora Hills, even if they're not under direct threat. People that live there, that's part of their commute, the way that they go, that's going to be impacted as well. You think about the potential commute for tomorrow morning too. Anybody that travels on PCH, people that use these canyons to get to work, all the rest of that is all going to be impacted as well. So the bigger this thing gets, the more people impacted and the more it's going to impact, Southern California tomorrow. You just think of that just from an air quality perspective, the amount of smoke that's coming out of this thing that's going to be felt all over the place. But all of those things are relatively minor compared to the imminent potential serious threat in terms of life for the homeowners that live in the direct path of this thing, and of the structures, businesses, shops, homes, churches, retreats, all of it in the potential line of danger here. And as we bring back in our meteorologist, Adam Kruger, who's with us now as we approach the 2:30 a.m. mark in the middle of the night as our coverage continues. Adam, the growth of this fire has been extraordinary. I got to think it's at least 1,000 acres right now. And that's something that's happened in just a matter of about 3 hours.
I would think so. And kind of the nature of these scenarios is you're not going to get, to the minute updates on the acreage. They kind of update when they can. And I'm wondering if it's possible. So in our control room, I set up a map from CAL FIRE kind of showing the outline of the fire. And I don't know if we can bring that up. It's on the computer next to Haley there in the control room. But that's going to give you a good sense. I mean, okay, so here it is. So this is just a different view. We've been showing you Skyfox with the overlay, which is an awesome way to view, a really useful way to view what's going on. Here's just another kind of more traditional map view of what we're seeing. So obviously, you see Malibu kind of on the bottom part of the screen. There's Pepperdine in the bottom left part near the Goodnight LA logo, as Goodnight LA has continued since 11 a.m. And so the orange on the middle top part of your screen is like the outline of where the fire is. And then on this map, they've marked all the buildings and structures in just a plain white color. And so you see Malibu Canyon Road kind of the middle left of the areas that have burned. And then just left of there, kind of like a 3-spoke structure, hard to kind of describe without pointing at it. But that's the HRL I believe it's called Laboratory, that you guys mentioned earlier. And then you see the homes, the fancy homes for sure, kind of on the right portion of all that. And keep in mind, as we look at this, the winds are generally going from, well, top to bottom on the screen, or from north to south. So that's why, you know, we have all these structures that are threatened or potentially in the path of where these flames are going, and certainly where the smoke is blowing as well. All that's blowing from north to south also. So again, oh, they got me keyed up here. Perfect. All right, so I can point this out. But that's that laboratory we mentioned earlier right here. Again, this is where we see the flames right now. This is the area burning. And then, again, everything is expected to basically continue southward. And here you see this cluster of homes right here. And then, again, Pepperdine here in the bottom left part of your screen. So just to give you kind of a sense, aside from the Skyfox views we've been showing you of what we're dealing with, I will say as far as the winds, we saw a recent gust of 50 miles per hour measured at Pepperdine. That's the strongest wind at that particular spot we've seen so far out of this. The winds really picked up around 5, 6 p.m. and they've been strong since then. We talked about earlier, and I'll remind you if you're kind of, you know, late joining in on all this, that we see this wild difference in the current relative humidity. Very, very dry air where we see these Santa Ana winds. They're kind of going from north to south, or more so like northeast to southwest. And so the LA area and Santa Monica, a couple spots plotted right here, are kind of protected from these Santa Ana winds, protected by the mountains right here. So we're not seeing the extreme low humidity or even gusty winds for that matter in these spots. You go just a few miles off in the other direction and it is a drastically different environment with relative humidities below 10%. It's around being reported 11% at that particular Malibu spot. Pepperdine University has a 6% relative humidity right now, which is just crazy dry. And those forecast wind gusts, it's going to be these areas in magenta. So again, here's a wild difference, drastic difference between where the winds are light, essentially, and then maybe gusting 40, 50 plus miles per hour from around Santa Clarita, as you see Tujunga right there, Camarillo to Malibu, and all the way over towards Oxnard as well. As we go through the night now, this is 7 o'clock in the morning, and the weather conditions aren't going to change here at this time. I think the worst of these winds and the worst of the dryness in the air will be from now through about noon. I guess I should say today. I'm used to saying tomorrow, but now here we are on Tuesday. So until about noon. Even after that point, though, we still have Santa Ana winds to deal with through Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening. It just won't be to the extreme level. Something I said earlier is that if we're on like a 10 out of 10 right now, it'll be more like a 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 as far as the Santa Ana winds go into Tuesday evening. Even Wednesday morning will be somewhat of a Santa Ana wind event, and then we start to see drastic improvement by Wednesday afternoon. But again, you know, it's kind of a perfect storm as far as the winds and the very, very dry air, that it's no surprise to see the flames fanning out in the way they are. The last update we had, it was 853 acres, I believe, to be exact. I don't know if there's an update.
Let's try to get some more information. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
We are in that weird in-between time between Good Night LA and Good Day LA, where we're like, we don't know what time it is LA, but it's about 2:30 in the morning. And we have with us now on the phone, Jonathan Torres from LA County Fire.
Yeah, Public Information Officer. No doubt you are swamped right now. Thanks so much for taking the time. We're told 853 acres. Is that, can you confirm that for us? And what do you want people to know in terms of evacuations in the situation?
That's correct, ma'am. It's just over 850 acres currently. We do have several zones for evacuation. We have 4 currently under order, as well as 8 under a warning. Pepperdine University, as well as that Sarah Retreat home, do fall within those 4 order zones. This fire did start, like we said earlier this evening, at about 11. It quickly grew to 275, is now well over 800 acres. It started in the area of the Malibu Canyon Road near PCH and grew throughout that canyon. As we were expecting with the red flag warning, we did have sustained winds of 50 to 80 miles an hour through these canyons and hilltops. We do have road closures on PCH between Topanga and Coral Canyon, as well as on Las Virgenes, heading over from the 101 towards Mulholland down to PCH. So we want to encourage the public to not try to traverse those roads. As you know, we do have an aggressive active firefight, including aerial as well as ground forces. Those immediate surrounding areas are we're doing our best to start our and maintain our structured defense groups. There are several strike teams, not only from LA County, but Orange County, Ventura County, LA City. Law enforcement here helping us. We have currently Los Angeles Sheriff Department, CHP, as well as the Pepperdine University Public Safety. I think the estimates for the structures within the order zones are just over 2,000. The population is about 6,000 there. Under the warning, there's about 6,000 structures and a population of about 12,500 people.
Wow. So you're saying in the area that you're most concerned about, that you want people to get out of, that there's 2,000 structures that could potentially burn.
Correct. Those 2,000 structures are immediately within those 4 zones under order, evacuation order, excuse me.
And do we know of any structures that have burned? Do we have a count on that yet?
That I don't, ma'am. I apologize. I've been off the fire line for well over an hour now, and I haven't heard any reports or numbers as far as any lost and or damaged structures. What I do have was just those estimates as far as that area and what it consists of.
Do we know that, even if we don't have an exact number, do we know that some structures have started to burn?
To be honest with you, sir, I don't have not one.
Okay.
I haven't heard that yet. I haven't been monitoring the radio. I've kind of been getting updates at the incident command post, and I have not been monitoring the radio as of yet.
At last check, we were hearing about 300 firefighters, 6 helicopters. Do we have new numbers there? What does the firefight look like?
No, ma'am, that sounds correct to me. Those last numbers I did hear confirm with yours. Just know that any and all available units and assets that are available to us are being deployed and used on this fire. As you know, we do have the aerial fight. We did activate our QRF, which is our quick reaction force. That's available to us through Orange County, Ventura County, and ourselves. Those Chinooks have a capability of well over 3,000 gallons, as well as our normal fleet of our Sikorsky Firehawks as well.
In terms of injuries, do we have any to report?
I have yet to hear of any injuries, ma'am, so no.
That's good news.
Yes, sir.
And so what do the next few hours look like for you?
Again, just an aggressive, active firefight on the ground and in the air. We want to encourage any residents, if they do hear of any warnings and or orders, to please adhere to them. If you're not in the surrounding area or do not need to make access to the area, we encourage you to not come and obstruct units that may be entering or egressing from the immediate area, and just to keep monitoring their cell phones and local news sites such as yourself. For any and all other information related to this wildfire, we encourage you to visit www.fire.lacounty.gov, and you can /RSG for Ready, Set, Go with a tips on evacuation for the immediate areas here.
All right, Jonathan Torres, thank you so much for calling in, and we hope to stay in touch with you throughout the night and morning.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Be
Thank
safe.
you. You guys take care. Have a good night. Thank you.
I'm wondering if our booth can re-cue the video that we had, that we showed for the first time of our colleague from RMG driving through. Let's listen into this, where you get a sense of what it's like to be on the ground. Let's see if we can listen into this. was a look at the drive through Malibu Canyon Road. Obviously, our colleague was able to get out safely and send us back those images. But it is a very scary situation. Can only imagine what it must have felt like to be in that situation for him.
Meanwhile, we have an alarm going off. Okay. Okay, and not to worry. I was spooked for a second, thinking that was an alarm system in our studio, but that crisis has been averted, so we're okay, everybody. Yeah, I mean,
let's just take a moment to reflect on what we just watched.
Right.
I mean, how crazy was that?
I was just liking it to driving through hell.
Right.
Literally. I mean, it's just so scary. It takes you back to what the city of Paradise went through when you saw people trying to escape, with their lives. Obviously, we have our own fires that have happened here. The Woolsey fire
was very similar to that.
Exactly.
In Malibu Canyon and on Canaan Road as well. Looked very similar, but we have not seen anything like that since. And that was, 6 years ago now. So it's been a while, and we've had a lot of rain, some of our wettest years, and all the rest of it in between. We haven't seen a fire like this since then. And we don't know in terms of structure loss. We just heard from LA County Fire. He hadn't heard of any structure loss. I think that was more a sense of the fact that he hadn't been in touch with the people, not because there hasn't been structure loss. It is almost impossible to believe that there hasn't at least been some structure loss in this fire so far. We don't know the extent of it right now, and we probably aren't really going to know the extent of it until we get more crews on the ground and frankly, we have some daylight and you get a better sense of it. But right now, it's not about tallying the damage. It is an urgent crisis mode that we're in, and that is trying to get as many crews as they can to get water on this thing, and as many crews as they can to get people out of there, and so that they are not driving. I mean, look at what we just watched. The idea of driving through that is could not be more scary. And so they're trying to encourage people to drive in other directions. That's why Malibu Canyon is closed, so that you're not driving through that, because that is, almost impossible to navigate.
We also asked the LA County fire official who was just with us live on the air about injuries. He said he hadn't heard of any. That doesn't mean that there aren't any, but he hadn't heard of any. So we'll take that as a good sign so far. The bad news is that he says 2,000 structures are threatened immediately, an immediate threat to the Franklin fire, 2,000. So that was the big news to come out of our conversation with LA County Fire Public Information Officer Jonathan Torres not long ago. 2,000 structures threatened, more closures of PCH. A good resource. Of course, stick with us, foxla.com. We are streaming live as well, foxla.com/live. But LA County Fire also is putting out public information notices about the fire, as is the city, as is Pepperdine University, so on and so forth. So we appreciate you sticking with us at almost 2:45 in the morning on Tuesday. We hope that you and your family are safe. If you have a story to tell about this fire, if you're near and you want to join us, you can, reach out to us and we'll do our best to get you on the air to help tell the story of this very dangerous fire that has erupted. We learned also from Jonathan Torres with LA County Fire that this started at 11 p.m. is when they got the call. We went on the air on Goodnight LA. I first mentioned this at about 11:15, so about 15 minutes after it erupted, as a 10-acre fire. Now it's well over 850 acres. So it won't be long until it's in the thousands.
Yeah. And we wish that we had better news in terms of the winds and the ability to stop this thing. But the way those winds are going, it's very, very difficult to stop it. I mean, the only thing, want to get there yet. I mean, let's hope we don't go from here all the way to the ocean. But that is the only for sure thing that would stop this that's ahead. But there's a lot of really extraordinary homes and businesses between where this fire is and that. And so let's hope we're able to get this thing a little bit more under control, or that they get lucky and don't have that happen. But let's bring in our chief meteorologist again, Adam Kruger. In terms of the direction of where the winds are blowing, it seems like they're blowing right towards those 2,000 properties that he talked about, right?
Yeah, I would say so. For the most part, almost straight north to south, or maybe like more of a northeast to southwest. But yes, I mean, that's what it looks to me like. He was talking about the 2,000 structures seem to be in line of, if this were to continue to grow and spread and go the direction the winds are blowing, that's definitely going to be a threat. And you mentioned getting to the ocean. I mean, I would say not out of the realm of possibility. I'm not the firefighting expert here, but just as far as the weather conditions, very dry, and it's going to stay windy through the early morning hours here, through at least the first half of Tuesday. Still pretty gusty into the afternoon as well. We mentioned that we've got a reliable weather station at Pepperdine University, which is right on the doorstep of where some of these flames are, and that measured a recent wind gust of 50 miles per hour, which was even higher than we had in the several hours before that. The winds really started picking up just after sunset, 6 p.m., kind of in that range. And since then, in this area, we've seen the consistent wind gusts between 35, 40, at times a little above 40. And then we had that 50-mile-per-hour gust. That was at 1:30 in the morning. At 2:30 in the morning, a gust of 42. So it's still up there. And then the humidity is still as low as it's been out of this whole event. So again, at Pepperdine, it's 6% relative humidity right now, super, super low. And that's just going to, make matters worse. As far as the winds, again, like I said, they've been very strong. We expect the winds to stay about as strong and blowing in the same direction through all day Tuesday. Wind speeds, though, should be at their strongest before the sun comes up, maybe down a little, but still, I would call it windy through much of the day Tuesday, but maybe down a little bit there, even into Tuesday evening and even Wednesday morning. We need to watch those winds. I think by midday Wednesday, we're going to get to a point where we'll be in a much better situation weather-wise. And so then we're kind of getting out of the Santa Ana wind event by that point. But winds probably won't change a whole lot between now and the middle of the day tomorrow at least. And then there's the dry air. I mean, and when I say dry, I mean, it's like, I feel like it's got to be near record low humidity for this area. I've been searching. It's hard to get those records. And not that it, totally matters right now because we're dealing with such a serious situation either way, but it's about as dry as it can get, I would say, around Malibu right now. It just like physically can't get any drier, the air that is, than it is right now. So the dryness, the gusty winds, it's a perfect storm for something like this to spread quickly if it were to spark, which is exactly what we saw. It was during the 11 p.m. hour, we believe, when this started. Last report, more than 800 acres. We think that number is going to keep going up. Certainly, as you see the live images, it's no surprise that we're going to see more and more land burning here. And again, for the most part, these flames are heading southward, which is the last place we'd want it to go. That's where a lot of these structures happen to be. So, it's just a really tough situation.
Okay, thank you so much, Adam. Now we have another Pepperdine student joining us by phone, Alicia Stadler. Did I get your name right?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Okay, I understand that you sent us in some video too, so hopefully we can show that. Tell us where you are as we see the video here. What are we looking at?
So this is a video that was filmed by a friend of mine inside of the Payson Library on the Pepperdine campus. I have since left the campus area. I live off campus. However, my off-campus apartment did lose power and electricity, I guess, just because of the winds. And so I had packed a few things and I had attempted to get back to campus to get a few friends out, but I was turned away by the California Highway Patrol guys.
Okay, understandably. So just to be clear, you live off campus. So when you heard about the fire, you were already off campus.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're safe where you are.
Yes.
And what are you hearing from your students on campus?
There's been a lot of chatter in my sorority group chat that some of the fires on the campus were actually controlled burns, so that when and if the fire does get onto the campus, it's already it's not gonna spread because a lot of the vegetation has already been burned. I received a communication from the university at 2:35 saying that campus operations were suspended for the 10th and finals and classes were also postponed.
Yes, I'm seeing that as well. Pepperdine University did put that out on X as well, alerted students first, thank goodness. And then at 2:44, they put out there that the normal operations are suspended for Tuesday. No finals for the day. We aren't surprised by that, given the enormity and the intensity of the situation. Thank goodness you're safe.
Yeah, I was just wondering that video that we just showed I mean, the fire looked very close to that. Yeah, this. Do we think this was a controlled burn? Or do we think this is the fire getting that close?
According to my friends who are still hunkered down in the library, it is a controlled burn. However, I did see an image in my sororities group chat that there was actual parts of the wildfire approaching some of the residence halls, which have now been evacuated.
The residence halls, which is different than the library, which is where they are, because that's so for people that don't.
Yes,
the library is in the middle of campus. That's the area that the fire-resistant buildings that they've built around it to try to be able to deal with a fire. The residence halls are on different parts of the hill, which are closer to potential fire danger, which is why they wanted everybody away from the residence halls to this library or this campus center to get away from some of that stuff. But do you know what? We spoke to one student earlier who said he went to the library and then said, nope, I'm out of here. And he left. Have you heard that from other of your friends as well that didn't feel safe in the library?
There's definitely been a few people that I've been in contact with who are getting a little bit anxious. I definitely feel really, really bad that I wasn't able to get through and get a couple people out like I had told them. I realize the road closures are for safety, but it's still a little bit frustrating just sitting in a safe hotel room and watching the news and just hoping and praying that my friends are going to be okay. I think there's definitely a little bit of anxiety, but I know the university is very prepared for this kind of thing.
Tell us about your drive on the roads. What was that like?
It was very windy. I drive a higher profile vehicle, and so it was getting tossed around quite a bit. There was a lot of law enforcement on the roads. It seemed like it was every other car was either a highway patrol officer or an ambulance or some other kind of emergency response vehicle. And it was really, really smoky and kind of difficult to see without some of the street lights on.
Well, we hope that you are okay. We thank you for calling in and stay safe.
Thank you very much.
We now want to bring into our coverage for the first time our colleague, Gigi Graciette, who is also is at work right now with our photographer, Tony Butita.
Alex.
There. Yes, Gigi.
Alex, good morning. Sorry, we're just getting to the scene and it is a bit chaotic with all the closures. We are on Pacific Coast Highway, right in front of the Malibu Beach Inn and the Malibu Plaza. And you can see the fire is over the hill now and has made its way to PCH. There are embers everywhere. There is a light wind blowing, which is one of the most challenging things for firefighters. Now, I know you've been keeping folks up to date. This fire has now burnt over 850 acres. And, you know, Alex and Marla, we were live yesterday doing a little preview on this red flag warning, and we were telling folks to be ready. And it always seems, a little bit maybe, I don't know, redundant to tell someone who lives in a fire area, pack your bag just in case. But that's exactly what we said yesterday on Good Day LA. And this is the reason we said it. Obviously, these high winds, the Santa Anas don't cause fires, but when they do start up, they sure do fan them. And the fires being fueled by a lot of dry brush. Firefighters telling us what happens is the wind dries out that brush even more. And these fires can spot a mile or more ahead of each other. And that is the big challenge. It is a triple challenge. We've got the higher temperatures, higher for fall weather than we usually expect this time of the year. You've got the low humidity, you've got the dry brush, and of course, the Santa Ana winds. Pacific Coast Highway is closed. If you're trying to reach someone who lives in this area, one of the biggest challenges we're seeing this morning is that cell service is dropping out continuously. You may want to try texting them. Use the WhatsApp app. That's always a great way to communicate in emergencies, but cell service is spotty. Calls are dropping. A lot of the folks here telling me they're trying to reach loved ones and they can't get through to them. And of course, that just adds to the level of concern. If you have no business in Pacific Coast Highway, if you work here but you don't live here, this is not a day to come to work. Pacific Coast Highway, this stretch of Malibu is closed. And we're talking about that fire spotting ahead of each other. Just a short while ago, we got a report of embers near Malibu Pier. So they were sending units to Malibu Pier. Now, the winds are blowing throughout the Southland. Fillmore was a point of concern just a while ago. If you live in Fillmore, you may have heard those water dropping choppers. You may have heard the sirens. There was a vegetation fire. Thankfully, they stopped the progress of that fire. They sent multiple strike teams right away, jumping on it. LA County Fire, Ventura County Fire, LA City Fire, all of them have the resources deployed to the areas, including Ventura County Fire, which said yesterday that they had at least 100 additional firefighters on the clock to be prepared. And you can see the different teams that are coming in right now. Los Angeles City Fire here in Malibu to assist LA County Fire. This is a fire, obviously, we're going to be monitoring all morning here. Alex and Marla on Good Day LA. Again, we're on Pacific Coast Highway. If you're watching us live, we're directly in front of the Malibu Beach Inn, the Malibu Plaza, and you can see the fire has already made its way to Pacific Coast Highway. Alex and Marla?
Yes, and Gigi, no doubt you're caught up to speed, but we can tell you that this started at 11 p.m. tonight. I was on the air with Goodnight LA and first reported it at about 11:15. It was reported just as 10 acres. Now it's more than 850. We just had an LA County fire official with us, Gigi, on the air, and he said that 2,000 structures currently are immediately threatened right now. No word yet on structure loss or injuries, but given what we've seen, Alex and I, the last few hours, no doubt there has been structure loss. Did you see anything on your way in as you tried to get to your live shot this morning?
No, thankfully, the fire appears to just be making its way now to Pacific Coast Highway. And of course, this is the dividing line. This is where they don't want it to jump PCH. And unfortunately, sadly, we have seen fires in the past. Obviously, Malibu, no stranger to these types of fires, especially during these months. November, December, some of the most challenging months for firefighters in our area because of the Santa Ana winds. And they're hoping that they can keep the fire from spotting across to the homes on the ocean side of PCH, but the fire has made it. So I'm going to ask Tony Butita. This is Malibu Plaza, one of the many businesses, one of the many business buildings here on PCH. You can see the fire is directly behind the plaza. Now, they are doing night drops, extremely dangerous, but firefighters are doing them right now. They did ask Marla and Alex for the super scoopers to come in at first light. They usually don't fly during the night, so they will be here a little bit later, but you can see the fire burning right down to PCH, right down to the back of this business.
Gigi, can you talk to us about what it was like driving there, what the roads are like?
Well, Pacific Coast Highway up to about Pena Road, that was where we encountered the first closure and the first backup of folks being forced to turn around. They are not being let into the canyons. They were not allowed to make a right turn into the canyon. They had to make a U-turn and go back up Pacific Coast Highway. We came in through Santa Monica. That was our best bet. But PCH is filled with firefighters that continue to arrive, strike teams from the different fire agencies, Ventura County, LA City, Los Angeles County, and we're going to see a lot of the smaller agencies. This is going to become
Well, everyone looks like they ended for the night. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your likes. I'm gonna go to bed because it's 6 a.m. here. Hope everyone in California. I hope you all are safe. Be safe. Listen to the local officials. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, please. Also, to make your subscriber stick, watch the video, like and comment. Please subscribe for more videos. And hope you all have a good day. Be safe. And if something else happens, if they go live again, I'll most likely will possibly try to restream it. So we'll see what happens. And I'll be safe. Have a good day. Be safe and have a good day. And yeah. And please subscribe, like, and comment to the channel. All right, everyone. Have a good morning, good night, wherever you are. Thanks for everyone for coming. Have a good night.